just the strangest image I've seen. I was so confused by taking a calling minion on his mobile.
Satanic
just went
on his phone.
I just want to see Minion's phone appears in his caller ID. Bloody Lord of Darkness.
And he went, what's that? You still there, Minion? Hello? Hello? Signal thrown on hold. You have reached Minion.
Hello and welcome back to the only wrestling podcast that exclusively rebooks, reviews and reimagines the worst of wrestling's past. We are Better Call Creative, and as ever I am joined by son of a bitch Sam Chance.
Hello.
And the Howard Power himself is Jack Chance.
Hello.
And if that doesn't give you an idea of who, do you not understand your entrance?
Yeah.
You're just annoyed that you're a son of a bitch.
Son of a bitch.
And I'm your host, Ben Chance. And if that does not give you an idea of who, what, where we're reviewing today, we are heading back to the Attitude Era, the greatest era of wrestling's past, to check out one of the most infamous wrestling angles of all time. It is the Ministry of Darkness and their higher power, no matter what Taker says. Have you enjoyed checking out the higher power?
I still can't understand it. I don't follow you. Very confusing.
There's a lot of holes.
Oh yeah.
Jack?
I've enjoyed it, but maybe not for the reason that they would have wanted when they booked it. I mean, we've only covered 3 months, but there's a lot that goes on.
Yeah.
Well, I've got 14 pages worth of notes,
Well, exactly.
so we strap yourself in, folks. It's going to be a bumpy ride. But I chose, because it's difficult to say this is where the higher power started, purely and simply because they never mention it. But but
Confused me.
Until taken the backstage promo. That one.
yeah. But also it's difficult to say this is where it starts and this is where it ends. So I picked out the reveal, which was on
My birthday.
It was.
My 10th birthday.
June the 7th, 1999.
Maybe
Sam
you're the
was
power,
10.
I'm the higher power.
Higher power, greater power.
Whatever it is. The power.
Yeah. I got the power! That's who it should have been. Bloody Phil Taylor.
Me, Bristol.
Oh, brilliant. But yes, so for the world, for a snapshot of the world, I chose the 7th of June to 1999.
Yeah.
Sam was turning 10.
Yes.
And top of the UK charts was Shanks and Bigfoot with Sweet Like Chocolate. And that was what...
people was on a sugar rush. Watching this, what is
Well, quite literally over in the US, because the number one there was Ricky Martin, Living La Vida Loca. US box office, no matter what TNA says, was the debut of Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, which they decided to debut
We did get it over it.
years and years later. And on the 4th of June, 1999, the last ever episode of Play Your Cards Right with Bruce Forsyth.
Oh,
no?
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. So he could have been the higher power because he was free.
He was finishing up. Side with a face.
It's turned deal on the left show.
Posted from ITV.
Bruce is a career babyface. There's no chance he's
Or have
turning
him as a heel, even better off the broomsticks and book him as a heel.
Did he do well?
No, he didn't. And the WWF magazine, Sam, I'll give it to you this week. Who do you think was on the front?
Was it Austin?
It was the Undertaker in his full devil gear, looking evil.
It's just a devil work.
And WCW magazine, Jack.
Godberg.
No, it was Macho Madness and Baby Doll. And I think he just started to give up.
Is it weird, Macho Man?
It was weird, sort of chunky Macho Man.
Beefed up, roided, I'm going to start wearing a shirt.
Yeah, that was it when he found a hat backstage. So I'll keep that. And obviously no football in June, but there was 2 internationals.
Oh.
England played 2 internationals in the build-up, I think, to... I don't know, these might have even been qualifiers. I think they were qualifiers. You might correct me. We played Sweden.
That was a qualifier.
We drew 0-0.
Oh, I thought we lost.
And we played Bulgaria.
We lost.
We drew 1-1.
When Keegan left not long after.
Not long, yeah.
Bottom of the group for
We
a while.
was bottom.
Yeah, we was bottom for a while, and then he left, and then we ended up getting in the playoffs and beat Scotland.
I could have swore Keegan managed us
He
at
did
the
at
Euros
Scotland.
2000.
He managed us at Scotland.
Yeah, I think he got sacked after
was
we
it
lost
in the
because he was crap in the Euros. We got beat by Romania.
Us and Germany went out of the group.
And then we played Germany in the World Cup qualifiers and
that
lost.
that was it when we was bottom, and then he left.
And we've got the saviour, Dad's favourite manager,
Sven
Goran Eriksson.
And we ended
Son
up
of a
in the
bitch!
group.
Take me to the son of a bitch!
But Jack, save this podcast and give him a poll, will you? Have you got a poll? We'll throw it at you.
True, so he's
There's loose
good
connections to hire and power.
Oh, okay.
No taker.
No taker or
Bidian.
devil or Raffala. I couldn't ever find any album called Raffala.
Did ACDC...
Drop the lads. Drop the lads.
Well, let's just splice that in.
Crab on the stick taker.
Did ACDC not do that famous album called Midian?
There's one called Power Up, which I had.
Oh.
I might take one out.
Right, this is going to be a 40-hour podcast, so we better get back on topic.
So, we have number 1 is Creed, Human Clay, because they have a song called Higher.
Yeah. You did promise loose connections, and
Well,
you're delivering.
Yeah, but everything else now has the name. Well, apart from one.
Creed is going to be a wrestling fanboy favourite. Let's face it.
The next one is ACDC Power Up. I just thought of it so lovely.
Yeah, put it in.
And it's relevant to this new. The next one, Chris Cornell, Higher Truth.
Yeah, I'll accept
I've got
that.
a feeling Jack's fed up with the poll, so he's picked
No,
albums he's going to want to listen
The last
to
one,
anyway. Okay.
Now it's Kanye West.
Oh no!
My beautiful dark twisted fancy, because there's a song called Power on it.
Yeah, it's rubbish.
That probably is. Yeah,
I'm going to vote for it.
No, people will, but it's Kanye.
But if you would like Jack to have to sit through Kanye West after secretly hoping it was going to be AC/DC, Chris Cornell, or Creed, do head over.
I own those three.
Head over to our Twitter page now, which is at BCCpod. Give us a follow there and a vote on the poll. And the polls themselves are housed on our website, which is bettercallcreative.com. Are you perplexed?
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure it out.
Right. We are changing the format ever so slightly here because there is only 2 full match reviews that we will be going through, which happen on the pay-per-view Backlash, and and the King of the Ring. So we are changing the format up, and it will be a show-by-show blow on every episode of Monday Night Raw and an episode of Smackdown, which I don't know whether you two did, but the
relevant segment.
the pilot. Oh, red rope Smackdown as well feels weird, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's strange. Is this heat? What is this?
And we will be giving a review. We'll be discussing after each episode what we thought, and then we'll be doing a blow-by-blow of 2 pay-per-view matches.
2 pay-per-view.
Unfortunately, Sam. I'll give you some background. Let's go the background. So, following his alignment with Paul Bearer at Judgment Day, 1998, The Undertaker began plans for the Ministry of Darkness, a plague of evil that would be unleashed on the WWF. Undertaker was consumed at the moment in a feud with Stone Cold Steve Austin, which would lead to a Buried Alive match, which I think he lost.
Yeah,
he lost at rock
qualifier
bottom.
for Austin.
It was a qualifier.
Yeah, Austin had to win to get into the Rumble.
Oh my God. But that would actually write Undertaker off TV for about a month. During this, do you know who debuted during that? Well, re-debuted as a different gimmick.
Mabel.
No, it was the Acolytes.
Oh, the
And
Acolytes.
do you know who their manager was?
Jackal.
The Jackal.
Jackal.
But the Jackal left. So if anyone's used the Jackal later on in their rebooking, he left. And the Acolytes were then partnered with The Undertaker, who returned, and they would abduct Dennis Knight on Raw. And Dennis Knight. Why did they leave Henry O'Godwin?
But obvious case.
They changed Dennis Knight to Midian. Undertaker would then be revealed as the leader, and the next person was Viscera at the Rumble.
Yeah. The Midian one, I think they did a thing where they was meant to have him levitate, but it don't work. So they don't bother with it, but nobody told Michael Cole on commentary, so we were saying it looks like he's levitating when he walks.
You all right, Cole?
No, it's not.
Undertaker would then explain the basis of the reason he's setting this up is because he wants to own the WWF and started a feud with McMahon and
you
his
only want this now.
Yeah.
And you got Midian.
This is your roster.
All right.
He broke your face.
It is actually here that he made his first reference to a higher power.
Is it?
So it's here that we got our first "this doesn't make any sense" reference. Taker would also be now booked into a second Inferno match because Vince was getting pissed off with him. Vince would also do "Is it Steve or is it Sting?" promo where he kept going, "Mark, you're taking this too serious."
Yeah, he started calling him Mark.
Yeah,
because there's a segment on one of the Raws with
Kane, which I'll get to later on. But yes, he booked him into a second Inferno match on Raw, which Kane against Kane, which Kane lost because Kane he has to. And this would be the episode of Raw where Taker would burn the teddy bear and reduce. Unfortunately, we didn't get to enjoy this because I didn't have the patience for another 3 months of this. But it would lead to the epic WrestleMania match, which we chose not to watch for many reasons.
It's weird though that he's feuding with Vince, so he fights Bossman.
Well,
why don't we fight Vince?
Vince also, I love the segment later on when we get to the higher power where Vince runs out of corporation members and just chooses the Bossman again. We'll get to that. Even that. Yeah, but anyway, the big boss man, and I think it is relevant for what happens later on, lost the match to Undertaker. Thank God, because the streak would have been over because of the boss man. But not only that, he was killed at the end of that.
The boss man was face. Really?
I don't.
It depends.
Jake called me face. He hangs a man.
Well, I suppose
I
boss
think
man.
by proxy, Bossman was the face.
Well, Vince was the face in the feud.
Yeah. So I think Bossman by proxy was the face. He also turns face and heel during this run as well.
Does he come out to hard times on one of the rules?
Yeah.
He comes out to his old theme.
If you will.
But he's still dressed like this.
Yeah. So we haven't even reached our first episode of Raw, and we're already confused. But our first episode of Raw is the night after WrestleMania. So the opening segment would see Austin come out and explain that he's giving up the WWF title. And this would be a tease. Vince would smugly think that he's won and Austin's broken down. But Austin wants the smoking skull belt back. We get a nice spot where Vince tells him he can't hit him, and Austin shows him the footage of him kicking him last night. And Austin and it ends. This segment, brilliant. Did you watch this segment, by the way? You too. No. It ends with Vince whacking him in the face with the belt and pegging it. Just completely pegging it. Brilliant. Anyway, this lays the seed for the Vince and the Shane sort of mini feud that happens inside a feud that's in a feud.
There's a feud within a feud within a feud within this story.
So, backstage, the Ministry arrive. Paul Bearer in shades. That was nice to see. And Vince tells Stephanie to call the house and get Austin his belt. Shane McMahon's pissed off. Undertaker and the Ministry now head to the ring and surround Sable. Yeah. Did you enjoy Taker making Sable dance and then just choking her?
The throat. It was weird.
But at this time as well, I watched SummerSlam 03 at the same time with it, and he choked Sable on there as well.
Really?
Yeah, because he fights A-Train, and when Sable's fighting Stephanie, so her comes in to try and distract him, and he chokes her.
That would have Brock.
It's sort of like, what's going on here?
Yeah. No wonder Brock ended the streak.
Don't worry.
The best bit of this, though, is Vince McMahon. Basically, this is to lure Vince McMahon out of his backstage area where he's protecting Stephanie. Vince has some sort of second. He kind of realises straight away, and then just runs.
They'll say nothing.
And they go, Stephanie! 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 We run to the back, and obviously Stephanie has been kidnapped, and the useless security are laid. In there we go.
Shane is bugging off.
Yeah.
Why did you play?
To go and
for a shit.
I've been holding it in.
We now go full deal or no deal, and the banker, Evil Taker, calls and basically quotes the rhyme from the start of the Powerpuff Girls and laughs.
Chemical X.
Sugar, spice, and everything nice.
The fifth segment sees Vince McMahon recruit crazy Ken Shamrock to find Stephanie. We now see Ken Shamrock go full Elmer Fudd. Have you seen her? There she is, the bin.
She's in the bin.
Brilliant bit of acting though later on, where Ken now has to stop because Vince has stupidly booked him in a match, and he's I just want my baby girl back. It's brilliant. So,
Go fight Gangrel.
The next match, Ken Shamrock versus Gangrel, which literally is probably no.
Oh, he's Christian.
Yeah. The best bit of this though is it's the longest match on the card. It goes way long. It also features. About that. It also features the worst Hurricane Rana you will ever see, and we see one later, but this is worse. And at the end of it, basically, Kenny wins the ankle lock and gets attacked by the Brood. He gets bloodbathed, which is relevant to what happens later. But he does manage to catch Christian, and Christian gives up straight away where she is. She's like, I'm in the basement. Get off me, you bastard. So, Ken now knows where Stephanie is. A blood-soaked, angry, crazed Ken Shamrock would now wander and head around into the basement. Whole time this happens, by the way, and he's looking for her. There's an IC title change because Goldust wins the IC title during that period. Eventually, Ken Shamrock finds Stephanie with the Taker symbol on her head. She looks absolutely petrified, and quite rightly so, because she's now been saved by an absolute enraged Ken Shamrock covered in blood. I would shit my pants at that.
I'll stay here.
Get that by this cop. Because the one who's saving me is this madman.
I'll stay with this. Yes, Vince McMahon and Stephanie are reunited, all in the space of an hour. Those rotten bastards. He thanks Ken Shamrock and says he's indebted to him. He tells Shane to give the belt back to Austin. Spoiler, he doesn't. So, that's episode 1.
Jesus Christ. What happened there? Then what happened in the whole of the Paul Roman podcast?
That happens in the whole of the next pay-per-view that we watch.
2 hours.
Who do you follow? Like, someone did the whole story in one show. In 1 hour.
The arc was one night.
That's it. We could finish.
Yeah, you could have done a whole month of this.
Yeah.
But no, it was done.
And people want this now.
It's fun though. I do like a Raw that's got a story throughout instead of just these
But
match.
if you ended the bigger
segment,
story in that one little story.
That's the problem. Yeah, you could have just had Vince loses his daughter. Vince gets called from Evil Taker. Vince hires Ken. The week after, Ken calls for it. You know, you can build it up.
Build it up. Not you gotta find her. Eve has a match. He finds her. It's all happy now.
It's
all gonna find Gangrel first. You put me in a match. You shoot it out, man.
Believe it, that doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Vince is scared for the safety of his daughter, but make sure you go out and have that match with Gangrel.
It's the integrity of the company. Go and beat Gangrel.
Jack.
Oh dear, what's going on? There's so much happening. What the fuck's the Sable thing is weird. That was strange. And I thought, oh my god, this is the start. Vince is amazing because he's so over the top with everything that he does.
Later on.
But there's just so much going on. You could have got a couple of months out of the story.
This
and
one,
done all in one show.
This whole episode of Raw is the clearest one where you could just go, this could have been a month. I mean, in fact, it probably would be a month now. They wouldn't blow through. Yeah, it's it was a very, very, very fast-paced introduction to what is happening.
Yeah.
So
it's a change of pace from what we usually watch. The thing we watched before was WrestleMania 2.
And nothing happened on that.
George Wells on there. They've got to kidnap bloodbaths, matches, and fucking vampires.
Vince has changed a lot since then. So we move forward to Raw from the 5th of April. Our first segment sees Vince in the back and not interested in what Shane's telling him about Austin and Big Show. I don't give a damn about Austin and Big Show. And later, the reappearance of dead Big Boss Man. He's back alive and he's in the ring with Shane. Shane explains to Vince that he's booked Triple H and The Rock versus Big Show. And he's put the smoking skull belt on the Tron. Thankfully, we didn't have to watch the. This is where the Big Show pulled it down. Yeah. That all happened on the same night as this as well.
There's a lot of things going on this show.
So, third segment. After Terry gets her top ripped off, the lights go out. Taker's
turning up doing his women's matches.
And the military. Cole and Lawler put over that Taker is starting to believe his character. Taker tells McMahon to hold Stephanie tight. The best bit of this, though, is Paul Bearer's face. Who? It's just so good. Tells Vince that there'll be a sacrifice tonight. And he says a beautiful woman will become one with his ministry. Take him from a family and accept him as the Lord and Saviour. Says there's nothing Vince can do about it. And Vince in the back screams he wants more security. And he teases giving Taker what he wants, which pisses Shane off. Backstage, Undertaker flogs Christian.
Yeah, that's funny. Stupid man.
And Ken gets a match with Viscera. After the...
this is your reward?
Yeah, well, you know how this ends?
Whatever.
I don't know what happens. Yeah. Ken Shamrock has Viss in the ankle, like they could. The ministry run down, the beat up Ken.
Put him in the trunk.
Yeah. Viss hits a big slam, and then they carry him through the crowd. Shane tells the corporation to just leave it. He'll be alright. Ken Shamrock is mad. They take Shamrock out and Bearer laughs into the camera. Which is brilliant. Backstage now, the lights go out and Vince does his second scream of
what the hell? Oh, here we go.
Stephanie! So we now think that the ministry has stolen Stephanie. Our next segment and final segment for this show, thankfully, is the ministry leading a hooded character onto the symbol. Lawler calls this the worst thing ever on Raw.
There's a lot worse.
Taker then says he's followed through with his plan, but we actually see Vince and Stephanie in the back, and the hooded lady screams as Taker tells her that she will soon be one of them. Stephanie looks scared to death. In fairness to Stephanie, her acting's quite good throughout all of this. And eventually, after about 3 minutes, the commentary team clock on to who the fuck it is.
Who is this woman?
I don't know
Who is it? Normally, I initially put some woman, and then I had to put the name out. I've actually said who it is.
Well, it's Ryan Shamrock, the kayfabe sister of Ken Shamrock, but in real life, his girlfriend.
Yes.
Why did they bring her in as his sister? Anyway.
Russo, eh? Vince with his incest.
Taker tells Stephanie it's time she comes home, and they raise up the symbol, and this is where Taker, and I will splice it in, starts to talk in tongues.
The Undertaker sending a message to Mr. McMahon. Listen to her screaming. Come on, put her down.
He's speaking in tongues. It is. That's Ryan Shamrock.
But it's brilliant, isn't it?
It is. Well, it's part of his speech.
Yeah, it is, yeah. Brilliant.
Vince.
And yes, we see Ryan screaming to death as the Taker symbol is raised, and this segment ends with Vince screaming down the camera that Taker is an evil bastard.
I had to stop for 5 minutes after that.
So that's what you was on about.
I was so happy.
Because then you saw that I had watched it again, I saw that.
Once Vince started shouting, bastard!
I mean, I did think it was slightly paced better because it was a slow build. I like the story arc of him going to get a girl and he follows through, but he then Stephanie. So there's that little twist.
There's the little swerve, bro.
Yeah. I mean, there's still too much going on across the whole episode. But at least with this, I can understand the sacrifice tonight, sacrifice at the end, and the tease of Stephanie.
Surely Stephanie shouldn't be that scared because he's been kidnapped once and has been found. If kidnapped again, surely he's going to be found again.
No, well, she definitely will be found anyway because she'll be.
Ken's in the trunk.
Yeah, he's been put in a trunk there, so he's
yeah.
Test.
Oh, what? Did I miss
Undead Boss Man.
Did I miss?
Yeah, Boss Man.
I did. Yeah.
Boss Man's back so he can save her this time.
Yeah. With his stick.
You gotta have a fight with Gangrel first though before you can find that.
You gotta fulfill your contractual obligations to wrestle.
That should be that should have been on the Attitude of Warzone game. You should have had to get to the end. But you can't get Stephanie until you fought Gangrel.
I like what the Betrayal Game Boy game is. Stephanie gets
kidnapped.
Yeah.
Is it by the ministry or just...
No, because Taker's one of them who you can beat to go find.
Who's kidnapped Stephanie? I need to know.
It changes on who.
Was it Team Rocket?
There's only 4. There's Rock Austin, Triple H and Taker.
It was Team Rocket then.
They were Team Rocket.
It was Vince.
That bastard! Giovanni, you bastard! With your Persian.
Jack, any
Put an R on the red.
any comments on Ryan Shamrock's?
Well, I like you know that he's going to go into a little feud with Shamrock for a bit, so I do think it was a better show.
We've got to finish the Austin Rock feud,
but
first.
You still have over the top Vince shouting Stephanie and bastards, which is amazing. There's so much stuff going on, but it is a little bit slower paced than the first one.
Yeah.
Taker trying to get that peanut butter off the roof of his mouth.
I think this is definitely the where they go into overdrive of Vince is the evil boss, but still sort of grounded in reality, to Vince is completely batshit crazy. And it happens, I think, here. This is where he goes from being corporate Vince to complete and fucking cartoon evil Vince. Anyway, moving forward to the 12th of April as episode of Raw, and Stephanie and Vince are backstage again, and it begs the question, why do you keep bringing it to the arena, Vince? But he's with Detroit's finest, apparently. I don't know whether that's good or bad.
All of them.
Anyone from Detroit want to tell us? JR, one thing we've seen is the return of JR, and they've completely dropped the storyline of JR being heel. And
Dr. Death.
Yeah, he's back on commentary, and Cole's just gone to the backstage and he's doing the interviews.
After heat with you.
Shane cuts a promo and introduces the newest members of the corporation. You know who they were?
Triple H China.
It was Rodney and Pete Gas. And Ken Shamrock really pissed off about that. He really hated that.
I can't believe you Rodney.
He wants to know. He does. We don't get an explanation as to how he got out of the car, but he's back anyway. And he wants.
Bossman was killed at 90 and he's back.
And he's in the ring.
Yeah. You can accept that. You can accept a man has been gone away from being kidnapped. Don't ask questions.
He's pissed off that the corporation didn't help him. Shane says it's all about the Undertaker. He wants Stephanie to head out. Stephanie plays naive babyface, so Vince gets the cops to go out with him. Vince is pissed. He wants to know what it's about. Shane says his priorities are out of whack. He's annoyed that JR's back, but also says Michael Cole sucks as well. Shane wants to get rid of the old corporation and fires Pat and Gerald.
Oh, poor Pat.
Oh, I'm brilliant. Oh, tell me you watch some of Pat and Gerald later on.
Yeah, they have an important
fucking brilliant. Really important. Vince suggests he's on a power trip. Shane wants to know where the real Vince McMahon is. Vince says he's taking Stephanie and going home. Shane stops Vince leaving and slaps Vince. Vince looks proper mega pissed off. And Shane disowns him. In the back, and Ken goes mad and runs off after him as well. In the back, Ken Shamrock shakes hands with Vince as he leaves with Stephanie, Pat and Gerald. This time, where the Ministry come out this time? Do you know who's in the ring this time? So the 3 appearances so far have been Sable, Terry. It's Nicole Bass. He's only on the Tron though, and he says Vince McMahon can run, but he can't hide. It's only a matter of time before Stephanie is his. He makes the announcement of another sacrifice, and the crowd fucking love it. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sacrifice match.
I don't know, you start to see what Mosh becomes later on, do you?
The Acolytes fight Double J and Owen. Don't understand who the heels and faces are. Match descends into chaos as the Ministry attack Owen and Double J. The crowd mega pop now for Taker's entrance. Who does he grab?
Oh, Deborah.
He's gone through the old women's locker room here.
Dance for me, woman. Dance. Or I will sacrifice you.
He basically says Deborah will have to take Stephanie's place, but Ken runs out with a ball bat. In the Ministry, gets the Ministry running, tells him that if he hits him, he'll never find Ryan again. Undertaker though just tells her where he is. He's in the boiler room.
That means he's got to get flagged then.
And also he says he's in the boiler room with Viscera, and leads you to believe that Viscera is sexually assaulting Ryan Shamrock in the boiler room. Okay.
Cup winner.
Was it the world's largest love machine at this point?
I hope not. God. Backstage, maybe they could bring in the son of Viscera, because it's been about 20 years, so you could have the son of Ryan Shamrock and Viscera. Anyway, Uncle Ken, backstage, in the boiler room, Mankind, who is in the boiler room, and Ken Shamrock are beaten down by the Ministry. It was a trap all along.
It's a trap.
And what does he use? The most powerful weapon in wrestling? He uses a rag. He gets him with a rag.
Chloroform.
Yeah.
Taker knows the seriousness of the rag.
Oh dear. Also, as well, Taker now really amps up the Attitude Era by calling Ryan Shamrock a slut.
Yeah. Now dance for me, woman.
Taker whispers in Ken's ear. This is later on. He says that.
Ken's asleep.
Ken's asleep on the symbol, I should add. And he whispers into his ear, licks his earlobe and does some weirdness. Wants him to become one with his ministry, but then decides, nah, fuck that. I'm going to put Christian on this other symbol that's next to it. But he's going to make the Brood do it. Yeah. But the Brood just fucking don't want none of that.
Oh, this is brilliant.
Ken escapes. He's fighting Farouk in his robe. Undertaker watches, but decides then to piss off through the Brood's hatch. This is all chaos.
Just
slowly
drop it. Because AJ going, somebody attack Taker, and it goes, he's disappearing. Very slowly, but he's smiling and laughing.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. He just looks at it. It's awful. I'm buggering up here.
Nothing to do.
I better get a belt out of here.
Oh God. Ken Shamrock appears again. It wasn't even the end. This is halfway in. He blurs kayfabe again now, calling Undertaker Mark and saying he wants him in the ring. It's about time he brought down the reality. They like to go out. Taker is in the ring and they go at it.
Come back up through the stage.
Or he should have just been halfway, like you just at the top of him.
This is the fourth time we've heard the Ministry's theme as well. And everyone goes on about NWO, but the fourth time we ain't even finished. It's unbelievable.
But you'd think that was the fate.
The Ministry minus the Brood are out. Triple H and Bossman head out, but they decide to turn on Ken Shamrock and they attack him. And the show ends with Austin getting knocked off a bridge as well. The Rock. This is all on an episode of Raw.
The Rock's still in the corporation, but he kind of ain't.
I ain't joining in with that. They could have come down and beat up Bradshaw.
I must admit, what did I put?
I've got it here.
I just put it was a bit crap. The brawl on the symbol, though, and the swerve at the end, didn't really explain whether we've got a corporate ministry at this moment. Ken's acting is terrible because all he can do is just scream madly, which is brilliant as well. Don't get me wrong. He's like B-level acting, so you love him because he's terrible. The Brood bit was quite good, but I thought it was the weakest show of the three so far.
Taker's descent was the best bit.
Oh, if you could just pick. He's getting away! Slowly. Sam, is that it?
Just that bit. When I saw that out, I think I had to pause it for a bit.
I think it made sense getting the Brood away from him as well, because you just didn't need the Brood. It was literally Russo going, right, them vampires, he's a devil. Put them together.
I don't really get why, because he beat him up last week, he whipped him randomly, he just went whip. And then this week it was just actually put Christian on it, and then it was like, well, that's the last straw now. You can whip him, but you can't put him on a symbol.
But I think is it the Smackdown pilot where they have the first promo?
Oh, that's where Gangrel's dead after that. He kills Gangrel. But we'll do that in a future episode. Jack.
Yeah, this is the worst one so far because there's so much going on. I can't really follow anything. I don't know what's gone on. Let's put it that way.
What's happened?
Shane is now ultra heel, controls the corporation.
Yeah.
The whole corporation is now
Bossman Triple H.
That as well, yeah.
They're ultra heel with Shane instead of partially heel and feuding with the Ministry. And
well, the Bossman, this is where the confusion happened. Why is the Bossman okay with Shane just saying, well, don't attack them, fight Ken?
He hung me! That doesn't matter! Beat up Ken! He fought Christian in a robe! He must pay!
The sight of Ken Shamrock in a purple robe fighting Farouk on top of the Raw stage will forever be one of my greatest Raw moments.
There's Mankind just
why is he being pulled into
He's got no knees. Why do you keep putting him in these sort of things? You don't need Mankind's involvement. Poor Mankind.
Too much shit going on.
Oh,
Too
well,
many people getting dragged into this storyline, which could have ended.
this next show, there's a seed planted for what could have been the greatest feud in living memory. It is the April 19th.
Match happened.
I know. We didn't see it.
Okay, it does. I know which it is now.
I will reference it, but we unfortunately didn't watch the heats, because it would have been too long.
We have watched that match though.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it was over the edge. Before over the edge, so that's why.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
That's what we did. I would have said watching one overseas.
Yeah. Oh. So April 19th, and the first segment sees Undertaker sets the Acolytes up to beat up the Brood later on, telling them not to fail him. Remember that, because they do. Because the Acolytes face Edge and Gangrel. Weird.
That would have been a weird story.
5-second pose with Gangrel.
Multiverse.
Yeah, he could have been He could have been teaming with Edge against Roman Reigns and Jey Uso. Fastlane.
So instead of Team Ek, it'd be Team Get. Gangrel, Edge, and Kurt.
Team Egg.
Team Egg. Oh dear. It actually goes 6 minutes as well, this match.
Oh god, that's too long.
Yeah, it actually felt a bit long, is what I've put. And Edge is the star of the match. The match is called off after Ken Shamrock appears with a baseball bat. And he goes at it with Bradshaw, laying the seeds for their future feud later on down the road.
Take it.
Yeah, after the match, Taker is pissed off. Paul Bearer tries to calm him down, saying, well, he came out with a bat. And like, he fucking failed me. Throwing bins around and kicking stuff. During the break...
They lose a match.
Yeah, during the break, though, Taker tells the Acolytes off, and Viscera and Midian kick their arse, which made me laugh, because that ain't believable. I'm sorry.
No, it ain't. And in all honesty, if you did chuck out the Acolytes, that's what you've left with.
Yeah,
you kind of need these.
Remember as well that we've been told that Taker has this mind control power over people. He can control people's minds, but not long distance. Because if he has to control your mind long distance, what he has to do is he has to get his mobile phone out and call Midian.
Just the straightest image I've seen. I was so confused by Taker calling Midian on his mobile.
Satanic.
It just went
on his phone.
I just want to see Midian's phone appears in his caller ID. Bloody Lord of Darkness.
And he went, what's that?
You still there, Midian? Hello? Hello? Signal from an old. You have reached Midian.
There is something.
Midian.
There's so many good stuff. God almighty.
It's such an insignificant thing, but it's so absurd that Taker is phoning Midian on his mobile phone.
He should have got Henry Money.
He's doing more rumpus.
He rings him again. Henry, is Midian there?
I can't get through to Midian. Can you ask him to call me?
I think that we got a call.
Taker spent years protecting this gimmick and killed it. Just owning a mobile phone.
So, a mobile as well. Very tiny one.
Ken Shamrock versus Bossman. He also does another terrible Hurricane Rana. He beats Bossman with a belly to belly. In that, by the way. Undertaker comes out, cuts a no, he doesn't. Comes on to the Tron and cuts a promo. He asks if Ken knows where his sister is, and then tells him he knows the hotel and the room at the hotel that Ryan Shamrock is being kept.
Can I have your number? I've got a new SIM.
Add me on WhatsApp, bro. And Ken Shamrock bails. Later on in the show, Big Show versus Viscera.
Oh, God.
The 5-star classic. Undertaker stops a chokeslam attempt. Big Show and Taker go at it. They have a chokeslam tease off. Viscera beats up Show. Mankind, who definitely needs a break, is out, and they clear out Vis, and Taker just walks off.
Through the stage. I'm off.
The final segment, Jesus, is a sit-down interview.
Yes.
Being held by Cole in an, I think it's a WWE Studios or WWF Studios. He interviews Vince and Stephanie. Why do you keep bringing Steph with you, Vince? He asks Vince if he's proud of Shane. He said he's always been proud of Shane. Regrets not being there, but he wasn't proud of him last week. Cole asks what Stephanie is feeling about it.
Why are you here?
Stephanie says she doesn't know what to think anymore. She doesn't know who Shane is anymore. Vince has protected him, though. Vince does a really nice gulp as well to hold back the tears. Brilliant. Vince is now told... Oh, God. Vince is now told there's a problem. And the acting of Vince now... You! Come on! Fucking bastards!
Man, we have a problem, Mouse. What problem? What do you Mr. McMahon, we have a problem. What are you doing in the parking lot?
You stay here! You stay here with Stephanie! You take me to him! Take me to the son of a bitch! Take me to him! Come on! Go, 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 go! Go, 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 go! Where's the son of a bitch? Where is he?
Running down the...
Son of a bitch! Go, go, go! Where is it?
Take me to the son of the bitch. It's Midian in his civil clothes. He's coming his own clothes to school day. He's backstage. Vince literally kills any heat Midian could ever have by killing Midian. Just completely kicking his arse. He lays him on... he lays him on a wall. And then literally jumps in Midian's car and tries to kill him. Midian, thankfully, we're told, manages to move, and he manages to jump in his car and escape. Now, that was Taker's plan.
What was the plan? Turn up in your normal clothes and get beat up by your boss.
I mean, I must admit, it was... I mean,
I'm not answering your call.
Again, it was a bit of a breather, I think, which is weird for a six-match segment, a six-card segment that ends with Vince trying to kill a wrestler. But it actually felt a bit like a breather because Vince wasn't there and it allowed a few matches. But yeah, any thoughts on Midian and Vince?
It was so funny when I saw it. I did actually think of the match that he'd have on Heat later on. I thought it's just a build to that.
Now I asked
you trying to run me over.
I ask you as well. Bear in mind where we go with this. Why is Midian okay with the fact that Vince is trying to kill him?
Oh, for the greater good. For the power.
All this is to convince Austin, by the way.
That's not been involved.
He's got killed last week because he got knocked off a bridge.
They should have just come out and go, well, we're going to do this, but he got drowned last week, so it doesn't matter.
All to keep him in a job. That's why Midian likes
it. It was very, very strange.
Look, if you try to kill me, can I stay in the noise?
The Taker on the phone is a brilliant
That
image.
is brilliant.
So
with the aerial as well, so on the phone.
I loved that image because it's so absurd. And then Vince, I mean, the bloke don't even sort of say anything. He just crawls up from behind him and Vince goes, "What the fuck? Take me to the son of a bitch!" It's only Midian. Go! Let me fire him. And then kill his own employee. That segment's amazing.
That's true. No, with all this, surely, if one of your employees are trying to kidnap your daughter, wouldn't you just fire him? Instead of keep paying him.
That in itself is the flaw. He's paying Taker at this point.
They haven't even mentioned the whole reason we're doing it, have they?
No, we haven't. We haven't heard anything about. Well, we still don't hear about the higher power.
Yeah, that's what I.
We hear about it.
We hear about power, but it's not higher. So we move forward to our first match review. I'm not asking you match of the night, by the way, at the end. I'm asking you segment of the night. So Backlash, the opening of the show, the Acolytes and Viscera beat the Brood. Bradshaw literally clotheslines Christian's head off. Backstage.
Okay now, the Acolytes with them. He beat us up last week, but we're fine now.
Yeah, they're all right.
Look, you'd be left with Midian and Viscera. I'd rather just say...
Why?
Just Viscera.
Yeah, it's your bit Midian one.
Take a pallbearer and Viscera.
And someone's going to mention to take it. Do you remember when he crushed your face?
Yeah. Get him out. On his phone. Is that Mo?
Got a spot in the
So, backstage, we get our first, and this is the low budgetness of this purple lighting. That's supposed to, it's awful, it's terrible promo. Undertaker tells them that they are forgiven for their failings and they must prepare for the arrival.
Never forgotten. Now we can go on. We must look to the future. We have to prepare for the eventual arrival of our Howard Power.
Of the Howard Power.
The first time you deliver this and you've fucked it up.
Son of a bitch!
Go! Take me to him! That's what Vince is saying in the gorilla. Bruce, take me to the son of a bitch!
So he tells us that the tragedy begins tonight. Shane and Vince continue their feud, with Shane swearing on Vincent J. McMahon's grave he'll count the pinfall tonight in the main event, which we didn't watch. But we know what happens. Our pre-main event is what on paper should be a pretty good match between Undertaker and Ken Shamrock. So, I mean, Ken Shamrock's entrance and theme, there's very few more believable entrances than Ken Shamrock. Legitimately punching himself in the face before he gets into a fight.
He should have still been covered in blood.
The set as well. The set's shit. It's a terrible set. That
I can't remember seeing
it. That's how innocuous it was. It was awful. Ken jumps Taker as he enters, and we're off. There's a big corner hands by Taker. We want Ryan chance. Sums it up. Taker dominates the first few minutes, hitting a huge clothesline for a 2. Taker misses a big boot in the corner though, and takes punishment to the legs. The crowd are very flat at the moment. Kenny works over the leg, and Taker hits a belly to back suplex to get a 2. Ken hits a sunset flip and locks in a knee extender. Now, Taker sells this like he's literally having his balls ripped off. The crowd do really want this to be a brawl, I think, not a technical submission fest.
Do a segment.
Sacrifice someone.
Sacrifice.
Where's Elton John?
Taker is worked down, but escapes as the crowd start a boring chant. Taker again is taken down with an extender and screams. JR puts this over big with us at home, saying that, Taker's never took this kind of punishment. Crowd couldn't give a shit. We get a loud bullshit chant. Got a loud bullshit from Ken shouting at the ref. Ken then uses the steps outside to stomp on the ankle. Taker scares off Earl. That always happens. The crowd are completely turning on this as Ken locks in a Fuji bar. The pace is completely slow as Taker lays shots to the kidneys of Ken. He bow and arrows Ken as well as Taker wears down Shamrock's back. I've put it, this match is pretty terrible. Big leg drop and Ken grabs the leg again to recycle the same spot. There's just a smattering of complete booze. It's like a little buzz of booze in the background. A big boot by Taker gets a 2. Ken hits again. He's awful Hurricane Rana. I mean, he does the worst.
Never do properly.
How dare you?
It's terrible. Ken then teases the ankle lock to counter a tombstone and locks it in. Who comes out? One member of the Acolytes.
Bradshaw.
It's Bradshaw with a baseball bat. Ken releases the hole and lays him out. Bearer now distracts him, belly to belly, as Ken now goes for a tombstone, which is stupidly reversed.
Stupid Ken.
And Taker reverses it for the 3. Whew. Whew. It's got to be one of the worst matches we've ever seen.
It's definitely one of the worst singles matches we've watched. It's too long. They don't mesh. They don't really read the crowd that it needs to just be a slugfest and beat the shit out of each other. Especially with what the feud's been, and then we're going to put holds on each other.
Well, what Ken's really angry that he stole his sister. I'm going to really work over your leg.
Put you in a leg lock there, you son of a bitch. You're trying to sacrifice me. So then Taker goes, well, I'm going to put you in a bow and arrow. What are we doing here? Beat each other up, bleed. For God's sake, do something. Bradshaw randomly now is second in command to Taker.
Yeah.
And he
Poor
beats the
Farouk.
shit out of him after, didn't he? Or am I thinking?
Yeah, no, after the bell, Bradshaw beats the living shit out of Ken with a bat.
So when did Bradshaw become?
I think obviously the
main
plan
man?
was that they must have realised that we've got to reamp the Taker Vince bits, so we need to move Ken away.
Yeah.
Let's just shove him into a feud with Bradshaw about a bat.
You use the bat, I'll use the bat. Let's have a bat match.
It was awful. Sam?
I know, to the match.
Oh, you didn't watch it.
No,
It was
no,
terrible.
shit.
You didn't watch it. You didn't.
The only image I do remember seeing, I think it was in the magazine at the time, was that leg lock that Taker was overselling.
Yeah,
That's the only image I can think of. Or I think it's on the back of the DVD or the video as well.
Well, probably that was all.
Image of that match
Well,
to sell.
If you did take a snapshot of that match, it would be of him in the leg lock.
That's it with Bradshaw.
So later, Vince goes to leave, puts Stephanie in a limo, but he wants to watch the main event. Well on you, Vince. That's clever. The main event basically sees Shane not count the pin, which pisses Vince off because of the granddad thing. He lays Shane out with a belt. Austin stuns Rock and reclaims his smoking cold belt. The crowd, it isn't a bad crowd because they fucking love that.
Oh yeah.
It isn't like this is a bad crowd and that was the reason why Taker Ken was bad. That's why Taker and Ken have to take all the blame for that.
Yes.
The show ends though. I hope you saw the end.
I saw this.
As the ministry wander over to the cops and the limo and they go, oh, go on, get out of here. Stephanie's screaming, saying you need to wait for my dad, to the driver, who is the Undertaker. And he drops the line.
Stop, driver! Driver, stop! Wait for my dad! Driver!
Where to, Stephanie?
Where to, Stephanie?
and the show ends with Stephanie screaming.
But then you hear Lawler shouting at Vince, trying to tell him, and Vince is just there, like, not bothered.
He's only about 100 yards away, Lawler. Just go and have a word. JR goes, somebody's got to tell him! Somebody's got to tell him! Oh, backlash! Backlash!
See you on Raw!
Oh, God. I mean, they saved the pay-per-view by that ending. It was a tremendous ending, but yeah. Take a Ken.
Not very good. Very bad.
Moving forward to the next night on Raw, and amazingly, the commentary team is JR and Jim Cornette.
Yeah. Hell,
I didn't realise Cornette did this segment in Raw history.
Oh,
I
don't
it's
realise
a classic segment. Oh yes, this is it. Right. Vince tells Pat he's not calling the cops. He's bought the papers and he's signing over the company to Taker. Then we get a phone call from Taker, presumably on his phone.
Taker's on the phone again.
Taker says he wants the paperwork or he'll hurt her. Vince threatens him. Taker says he's got till 10 o'clock in the car park of some random hotel to bring the paperwork, but he doesn't want Vince to bring it. He wants Austin to bring it. We go directly into the ring.
This makes no sense.
None of it makes any sense. We go directly to the ring. Austin's being interviewed by Cole, kicks him out, cuts a promo, says he beat Rock's ass. Vince heads out, says he needs Austin's help, tells him he doesn't give a rat's ass about his problems. Vince fills him in on the problems he's facing. Austin wants him to hear say he needs Stone Cold, so Vince does. Stone Cold tells him to kiss his arse, and he won't do business. Vince then decides, well, I'm going to have to take him myself. So he takes the documents to meet the Taker. Big Show in the back, having a coffee, has a word with Stone Cold. He's his daughter, man. He's, I don't give a shit.
You're a prick,
He's trying to drown me, goddammit.
I tried to watch all the ministry segments, so just for anyone who was watching, Test saved Shamrock from a brawl with the Acolytes. Not sure why Test has left the corporation, but he has.
I agree with it.
Vince is in the loading bay. Proper Smackdown 2. Waiting for Taker. No shows. Instead, we see Stephanie in the robes being dragged out by the Acolytes. And Paul Bearer laughing. And the close to this show sees Stephanie brought out on the Undertaker symbol very slowly.
Oh, about with that.
Yeah. Stephanie does some good pleading and crying. Taker addresses the McMahons. He says he's not to blame and blames Vince. Tells Bearer to begin the ceremony. Did anyone make a note on what was on the front of the Taker's book? The spells.
Is this the book of Dilligaff that Shannon Bora?
This is the second.
Is that what's in the lockbox?
We know what's in the lockbox. This is the second wedding we've seen, and it's a bit different to Uncle Elmer's.
Yeah, that was a proper wedding.
He should have bought her out on a symbol.
Where's the man in his pants?
Where's Andre?
There's a stupid red light shining on Taker's face throughout this, which pisses me off.
You get that a lot.
Everyone found them stupid laser pens.
Yeah, that's what the band made. You had it for Austin and Taker there later on.
Stephanie, Bearer asks Stephanie if she takes Taker as her master and spouse. Ken Shamrock runs out, but
master and spouse,
and both. He gets splashed by this. Shane won't let the corporation head out. Bearer then asks Taker if he takes Stephanie to bear his offspring. This is a weird wedding, Paul. But Big Show is out. He lays out the ministry, but gets laid out by Taker with his baseball bat. Bearer pronounces them as the Union of Darkness, and then the only person who got his theme throughout was Stone Cold. Oh, the crowd. Fucking love it. Go on, Sam. You want to pick a hole?
When Big Show got beat up, went out. Did you see that Viscera day get took out? He just stood outside, carrying on beating up Big Show.
Well,
so when Austin come out, he had to go out and hit him.
Well, he could get back in, couldn't he? He's a very large man.
A big man.
Was he the best man in this wedding?
Should have had Smith in a suit.
Stag.
Stag party for Taker. Oh, brilliant.
Dance for me, woman.
Austin lays out Midian. Taker just buggers off, basically. Austin lays out the Acolytes, Viscera, Midian again with a chair. He unties Stephanie, who hugs Stone Cold. He does look very uncomfortable. And then Vince rushes in and gives him a thanks as we go off the air. I actually thought this was probably the best structured Raw. Few segments, big build. Big segments at the end. Anyone got any problems with that wedding?
Not really. No, it was alright, as you say.
Uncle Elmer, all this?
Andre in his pants is a great image, but this is iconic. It is done well.
I like
the show is paced well, so it is the best show.
You get the feeling as well, even though there's been a lot of good segments and fun leading up to this. Now Austin's involved, business has picked up.
The crowd give a shit.
It's a clever thing now to get Austin involved.
I'm going to say, I think Test would be the next one, wouldn't he, after Shamrock? To fight Taker. That's where he would have gone.
Taker. God.
That happened.
Well, he marries Steph. Well, he tries to.
And this sort of...
And Triple H got
this is the seed that's planted. Smackdown. From April 28th. Oh, God, this segment.
It's the
pilot, yeah. So, Vince and Stephanie are out to open the show. He explains the pride at being here and being next to Steph. Gets an asshole chant. Tries to cut a face promo. Says he's going to be more of a man now. He's going to care about his family a bit more. Thanks, Ken Shamrock. Thanks, The Big Show. And then thanks, Stone Cold. Stephanie does the same. They basically cheer as well when Stephanie says that Taker touched her. They go, hey!
Dance for me, brother.
Dance for me, woman.
Hashtag me too. Stephanie hopes Taker burns in hell. Shane interrupts. He says the corporation would have been there last week. Tells Vince to shut up. That he doesn't care anymore. Calls Vince Vince calls him a little boy. Vince and Stephanie leaves. Taker interrupts. Taker says Austin ruined the wedding last week. Says he stuck his nose where he had no business. Basically played the role of the spoiler. That's what he said. Austin played the role of the spoiler. Shane makes Taker and Triple H versus Austin and Rock for the main event. If you're going to have a pilot, go in big.
Yeah.
Middle of the show, Rock cuts a promo, drops all his catchphrases, warns he's going to kick Triple H and Taker's ass. Says Austin isn't his friend. He'll kick his ass if he gets out alive. Austin storms out, flips off the Rock. Brilliant, that is. Calls him a little kid, quoting nursery rhymes. Says he'll barbecue the Brahma Bull. Now, Shane heads out. and this is the only line I've got because it doesn't make any sense. But basically says, we're in a corporate ministry now.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, we're a group now.
No explanation. Well, he gives a slight explanation later on about what was happening, but not here. He basically just goes, we're a group now.
Yeah,
the boss man standing next to Taker.
Shane comes out and then Taker's Steve and then he comes out. And I think Jim Cornette just goes, is this a corporate ministry or something like that? They just basically say it.
I mean, that's complete Vince Russo writing in it. And then they're the corporate ministry, bro. Ken Shamrock later would get his revenge by beating Bradshaw, choking him out with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
And he beat up. He also beat up Sergeant Slaughter. So there you go. The main event, Triple H and Taker and Austin and Rock. The match descends into chaos. Vince lays out Shane. Taker cracks Vince with a chair. Hard. And Austin stuns Taker. Shane is stunned to end the show. So far, this corporate ministry is going well. Both of you stunned.
Great, taking you out of that.
I mean, there wasn't too many segments there, but that has to be the weakest introduction to. I can't believe how bad that corporate ministry was.
Yeah,
it's just terrible. Yeah. And Boss Man's in it, and he was literally killed by Taker.
And when did The Rock leave the corporation?
I think it was like
because it does say he's been excommunicated. Is it just that? Okay, they've joined with the ministry. Let's just have Rock say he's gone.
From memory, and I didn't watch it, but I think what happened is that after Rock lost the belt, he blamed Shane. Shane blamed him. The corporation beat him down, and Test didn't get involved in the beatdown, which is why Test also.
Oh, that was the whole point of that was to get over Test.
Yeah, not the Rock. Get Test. So yeah,
Test.
We're moving forward. We're in May. Oh God, it's only 2 months left, and a lot happens in this 2 months. Shane is now the leader of the corporate ministry. No longer Taker. He's fucking Shane. Plays the rich boy.
Excuse me, what's he doing?
He can only imagine hating his job and living paycheck to paycheck. Calls the fans losers. Said he had the balls to slap his dad. No one else would. Triple H called Rock the Croc. I like Triple H had one diss for the Rock and he just went, I'm sticking to that.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really good, but he's a crock. Mocks the crowd for loving him, promises to end his career. Taker hates everyone.
That's all I
I hate everyone.
What? Me, boss? Especially you, bitch.
I got run over for you.
Austin is going to be executed over the edge. That does not age well.
No,
and he's taking his title. He's going to beat him up. He promises to sacrifice him on the Raw after the pay-per-view, which would have really pissed me off if I was on this Raw. Like, in a couple of weeks, I'm going to get you.
I ain't doing it yet. I'm too busy. I've got phone calls to make.
Shane reminds us for the third pay-per-view running, Mania, Backlash, Over the Edge. Special guest referee in the main event. Jesus Christ. A segment which has already gone 10 minutes has the birth of another faction. The fucking Union. Big Show, Mankind, Test and Shamrock are out, all with 2x4s. Should have had Jim Duggan. And they are the Union. You know what they're called? They're the Union of people you ought to respect, son. Which is basically up yours.
Yeah.
Well, it's not, though. Because when they said that, I thought, well, I'm going to write this down. It's not up yours.
Yeah, there's no you.
It's union of people, so it's what to begin.
What? Brilliant. They warn Shane and his ministry, and then they clear them out the ring, which is brilliant, because, again, corporate ministry, they had their wedding ruined. Smackdown, they all got stunned. The opening of this, they got cleared out by Test and Shamrock with bits of wood.
We don't need a bat, we got a 2x4 now.
I'm not moaning, but this literally is
about... Do you think it's like that episode of The Simpsons when the aliens come down and...
Yeah,
it's the monkey paw and then he comes with a big board with a nail in it.
He's got a board with a nail in it.
So they'll build bigger boards and bigger nails.
That'd be taken pretty much what happened. So, segment 2, which is literally 10 minutes later, and I'm not moaning, but literally all the corporations fucking back out for the thieves.
Here they come again.
Shane,
Oh my God, he's back.
Shane couldn't tell us the changes he made earlier. He's now made them. Vince and Linda.
There's only half an hour left, Shane.
I like the introduction of Linda, though. She's involved now. Basically, we got Test in a 4 corners match against Mideon, Bossman and Viscera. Mankind in a hardcore match with the Acolytes. Triple H against Ken Shamrock, but with Chyna as ref. The Posse versus Gerald Briscoe and Pat, which is fucking amazing. Undertaker faces Big Show as well. There's no real sort of... That's just the match.
I'm not even a fan.
And also... Deborah and Sable. I mean, what the fuck is that?
You two can dance for me.
He makes Stone Cold versus The Rock in a lumberjack match as well. Vince is out looking pissed. Stephanie and Linda are out too. They have a tense standoff. Shane challenges him to a match. Vince asks him to listen to his mom. Shane tells her to shut up, which pisses Vince off. The Ministry are there to back him up. The crowd really do want that match though. Shane drops the bombshell that he was the mastermind behind Undertaker abducting Stephanie. Well, I knew that because you weren't in the fucking dressing room at the start of the fucking podcast, so we knew this, Shane. Vince snaps but gets the boots laid in, and the Ministry leave him beaten down. So, Raw. The first match, Posse and versus Briscoe and Patterson. Brawl descends into, and it just ends in a chaotic thing. But basically, the Stooges has left standing tall. 0-1. 4 corners test match ends with the Union coming out to clear the Ministry. 0-2. Shane versus Vince. A bit of a spot fest. Yeah. Vince beats Shane with a stunner. With bad stunner as well, because he lands on his mid-back. 0-3. Mankind versus the Acolytes. Finally a goal back for the Ministry.
3-1.
As the Acolytes put him through some chairs.
Is it a away goal or is it a bad goal?
Well, the comeback's on because Triple H beat Shamrock with a pedigree after a low by Chyna. 3-2.
3-2.
We're going into it. Undertaker gets DQ'd though after cracking Big Show in the head with a baseball bat. I'll call that a draw because he did lose, but he did win. So we'll leave that one out.
It was a good point.
And the show ends with The Rock and Stone Cold.
What's this? Waterlogged pitch?
Yeah. Very waterlogged. Basically, both of them get thrown off a stage.
Yeah.
Why do you need to do that? There's
That's
no
surprising.
payoff.
That thing. I couldn't remember. Austin taking a bump like that off the
stage. Yeah.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
He bounces off the table as well.
Unbelievable. But yeah, I mean, you've killed this. Completely killed it in one episode again.
Though, because the fight.
You could have got a whole pay-per-view out of this. This could have been the whole over-the-edge pay-per-view. Could have been this power.
This
court.
Yeah. And you've blown it all in one night.
Yeah, but Austin sort of commandeers Taker's levitation thing though, because he fights with Mideon under the stage and then comes out from the pit. That's mine now.
I love that. They love that pit. So they use it again later on, don't they?
The pit's the best thing.
And also, in a podcast called The Higher Power,
I mentioned it. I mentioned it since an awful complete backlash promo.
I mean, you would think at the moment that The Higher Power was Shane.
Yeah. Well, if you'd never bought the pay-per-view, you wouldn't even know what it was. Because it didn't even happen on TV.
Yeah. Any thoughts on
the whole show is Ministry versus corporate, well, not corporation, Ministry versus Union.
Yeah.
With sprinklings of Austin.
And Deborah.
And women dancing for me. Yeah, there's too much going on there. I don't know what the fuck's going on there. Why the fuck are they together?
Union, Rock and Austin.
I mean, I couldn't watch all the matches, so I just kept sort of jumping to the end to get the last segments because
I can't watch the shit.
It's just too much. I mean, the matches are only like a minute long anyway, but it's just too much.
Because if you're just watching the matches, it'll be all right. But because we're watching in the grand scheme of a bigger story, which has another story around it.
Well, I just like the fact though you've got literally Raw now is all this Ministry shit, bit of tits, Billy Gunn's turning heel. That's basically it.
Billy Gunn, Beaver Cleavage is turning up.
Oh, yeah, he's
It's a promo for that. But it's just so chaotic.
I love as well, I even said this though, on most of these Raws, I'm sure after every single big taker thing I've said for fucking Val's on the next segment. Every time.
Oh, Jeff.
Hello,
Jeff's one that I always hear with his guitar.
Jeff gets involved later on in the which is
That Raw though, I mean, to say that the whole show, near enough, is devoted to it, at the end of it, nothing really comes out of it.
It hasn't developed, has it?
No,
This is my
nothing's
point.
happened.
Because, like I say, they didn't put over the Ministry strong enough early on because they kept losing. So when by the end, where you've kind of got the Ministry getting rid of Austin and Rock, I mean, Vince is still fine, who they're feuding with, and it just didn't feel. It didn't feel like. And when you don't keep them off TV. Anyway, it doesn't make any sense.
Well,
There's no payoff.
Nobody's won a match clean there, apart from Vince, which is saft. And then the whole thing was supposed to be all about Stephanie, and
now
she weren't even involved in this.
And now it seemingly is about Shane
Vince versus Shane
versus Vince and
Featuring
Taker
Test.
Austin. Yeah. Anyway, 10th of May.
On this one.
It's great. I love this segment. This segment is
There's
brilliant.
one bit of this that I always remember watching as a kid. And we'll get to it.
Yeah, I know what this is. Then.
Yeah.
Well, okay. So Vince and the Union are out. Vince coming out as a member of the Union. Doesn't make any sense.
It's your company.
Surrounded
Do you
by
think
Royal
Jesse
Police.
Ventura was good band at all watching it? I tried this in anything.
He challenges Shane and the corporate ministry to head out. The lights go out and they head to the ring. Shawn Michaels is back though, and he's on the screen.
Coked up the
Fucking coked up. He adds Vince McMahon to the match at Over the Edge as the referee.
There's a lot of show being rebooked on the show, either.
I like how he's comfortable that, well, I'm going to stop this screwing. I'm not going to remove Shane. I'm going to add Vince. What?
Hey!
You're definitely on coke.
Next week we'll add another ref. 5 refs.
He makes what is going to be the best match on the show, obviously. Farouk versus Bradshaw in a lumberjack match. Makes Test versus Bossman in a nightstick on a pole match. We know what happens with them.
Yeah.
He makes Patterson and Briscoe versus the Posse in a lose-lose town match. Remember that. He makes Ken Shamrock versus China. And Big Show versus Paul Bearer. And Paul Bearer faints.
That's the bit I always remember when he got booked to fight Big Show and he faints, but then he gets back up straight away.
Brilliant. And that fainted. Brilliant. The ministry can't get involved or Taker loses his title shot. Then we get Midian and Viscera versus Cactus Jack.
I saw that.
It's okay with the fact that that's not hampering Cactus. Midian and Viscera are literally the
taking
lowest.
out Shamrock every week. Why is he now cannon fodder?
Oh, and also Stable versus Deborah in an evening match.
There's another match that doesn't involve this.
But the main event, which I think got the highest rated of any TV segment, wrestling segment ever, was Shane Taker and Triple H versus Vince, Austin and
This
Rock.
did. That
Yeah.
match.
Yeah, I think
It
got the
actually
highest ever.
It was actually the highest segment, but it overtook a segment that was on this show.
Yeah, which was Pete and
Rodney.
I love that.
And the Stooges was set the record and then was beaten within the same show, but it was for an hour the highest rated wrestling segment in the history of wrestling.
They did like an 8.9 or something like that.
Fucking Rodney.
Right, that ratings there. Pete and Rodney versus Pat and Gerald.
That's what I mean. You can come on.
rated.
I know. Look, we will have our opinions on the Attitude Era. By the end of it, we'll all need to
Lie
hook
down.
ourselves into a diabetic machine. But you can't. You can put wrestling bell to bell for hours on end. People do like two geriatrics taking the tops off. So
Bring out the old men! Maybe that's what Vince is doing now with all the old ones coming back.
I love this segment though because he wants to set a special guest referee. Then introduces the 3 cops, one of whom is Pat Patterson.
But they're sort of out of sync.
Yeah, one of whom is Gerald Briscoe, and the last is Sean. I can't remember that bit at the end.
No,
and
mate.
when I saw that, I literally popped that shit. That he was bringing out Patterson and Briscoe as the big surprise.
Yeah.
The fucking brilliant. They're so over. The crowd are in tears. It's Pat! Yes!
Don't they wear that white gear for the match?
Yeah, yeah.
That's what they come out to Hogan's.
Oh, God.
Amazing, ain't it?
What
How do
a
you get
segment.
Gerald over more than like Edge and all these people that they're trying to build.
Yeah, it was good. This is the best use of Sean around this time.
Sparingly.
Yeah, sparingly.
Sparingly
Lenny.
and pre-filmed.
So, Big
Well,
Show.
until he just does his dance and Vince looks slightly aroused by it.
Definitely
Oh, you bastard.
Big Show
Dance
versus...
with me, Shaw.
I must admit the stupidity of Big Show. Big Show versus Paul. He wants to punish Paul. He brings him to the ring, gives him a big boot, barely hits an elbow, and now just goes, actually, I don't want that rule that they can't get involved. Bring them all down. And basically they all attack him.
Yeah, shouldn't that be now Taker's lost his shot?
Well, he says to Sean, can you just wave that because Sean's on commentary? And Sean says, all right then. And then they come out, beat the living shit out of Big Show until the Union save him. So stupid. It's basically this is Vince Russo. You can see it. Vince Russo's gone, right, we're going to flip it this week. So they had all the things. This week they're going to have it all against them. So we're going to do that. But then he's thinking, well, how do we get out to the fact that Big Show is obviously going to have to kill Paul Bearer?
Not just have him kill him.
Yeah, we won't do that. What we'll do is we'll have Big Show stupidly telling him, no, we don't want that, so he can get his own arse kicked. Unbelievable. Complete crap.
We need to protect Paul.
The ending of I think this happens. The ending of this is the thing that always happens with something on a pole, where the person who grabs the thing off a pole ends up losing from the thing on a pole because Bossman lays out Test and you could argue that the Ministry are 2-0 up here.
Well, they have it on their away leg.
But
It's the away leg.
yeah. Cactus beats Viscera Midian with an elbow off the apron onto Vis. Farouk and Bradshaw legitimately just have a fight.
It's stupid.
It ends with the corporate ministry breaking it up, but Viscera just gets the crap kicked out of him with the 2x4s. Patterson and Briscoe versus the Posse. They're out to the Real American and they do all the Hogan stuff. JR and Lawler taking the piss out of Hogan.
And don't we say when Pat takes his shirt off and he goes, well, he's single, fella.
Yeah. But Patterson didn't come out till on Legends House. No one knew anything. I like the spot that I love is Patterson trying to crotch Rodney on the top and missing the ropes completely, and Rodney just fucking falling flat on his arse to the outside. It is an amazing. If I can recommend one match, Patterson and Briscoe versus the Posse is fucking brilliant.
Match of wrestling.
Ken Shamrock fucking hates the fact that he's got to fight a woman. That's the segment as well. Doesn't want to fight China. China slaps him. Triple H jumps him. Ken Shamrock snaps, hits a belly to belly on China, loses his shit and walks out on the match. Cork out with the fact that he's hit a belly to belly. There's no payoff on that, by the way.
Fuck.
So is that a win or a loss? Or is that a draw? What's that count?
I'm confused at this
Missed penalty.
Basically, the main event, very chaotic, very fast-paced, not a traditional tag match. Austin hits a stunner on Shane. Vince covers him, but Stone Cold won't let Vince get the win. Stunners Shane again and wins the match. So again, the corporate ministry look like complete and utter chumps. I think this was the best show from a start and end. And one or two of the matches, but some of the matches were so fucking badly booked that it takes away. Well, you don't need to do. What annoys me is you've got Val, Gangrel, the Brood, Hardy Boys, all these other people. You've got Farouk versus Bradshaw. That can add nothing to this. Why are you taking up a segment doing that?
It's because they thought if we're going to have him book the one thing for the corporate ministry versus the union, then really we've got to book everything. Which I understand. As a character-wise, you would book them all. But then for them to just fight is stupid, and then, you know, they're not creative enough to get out of it, so that everything just ends in a brawl.
I think that's the biggest problem with Russo. It's not that he's not got some good ideas. He just, what he does is he books himself into a corner and then isn't creative enough to get himself out.
Just have a brawl. Some women as well.
But, I mean, getting Pat Patterson and Briscoe back on TV is the greatest. Don't ever take them off.
That show was Patterson and Briscoe are very over now.
Oh, and also, now mention of the high power.
That was,
Sam, any
These
thoughts?
were very confusing. As I say, the only thing I always remember watching as a kid was Paul Bearer fainting. That's the thing I always remember from this show.
I just like at the moment, if I probably asked you your MVP, it's going to be either Patterson, Briscoe, or Bearer. Somebody, or Midian on his phone.
Take his phone, is it?
Yeah.
Vince's acting.
So, May 17th, Shane and the Corporate Ministry B team are out, which is basically the posse, Viscera and Midian. The quick promo warns Vince that the Ministry are coming for him tonight. The Union apparently are delayed. I don't know why, but they are. Yeah. In the back, Vince is cornered with Patterson and Briscoe. Goes into his closet. And out comes fucking Magic Taker and Triple H and China. I like the fact that they must have been hiding in there fucking hours.
The Taker's one was sort of falling off a bit as well.
Well, that was so weird.
And they're obviously planting the seeds of what happens because the lights go out next time we see him. Vince is laid out. Briscoe and Patterson are fine though, which they were a bit ripped up, but they're fine.
Why did he not feel it? Patterson and Briscoe. Why did he not tell them? Look, this is all work.
Well, because Patterson and Briscoe never turn heel again. That's true. Come here, baby. After this,
they've never hit this.
Because we know what happened. No, because at the reveal, they're booked in another match. And also later on, Shane and Vince fight the Stooges on one of the episodes of Raw. I'll give you a blowdown of that. But yeah, it happened.
Fuck me.
Yeah, so Stone Cold puts over Triple H, finally reaching the top, warns him he's going to put his foot on his ass. Basically, that's the main event. The other foot, it will go in Chyna's ass. Stone Cold's bottom line is that it's over the edge, he will beat The Undertaker. Shane warns that if Stone Cold gets DQ'd, he loses the title. Then he teases beating up Stone Cold. The Union stop it. Paul Bearer is in the ring. Undertaker looks on as a stunner to Bearer. Oh, you can imagine. If you didn't watch the segment, you can imagine how badly Paul Bearer takes the stunner.
Austin was just like kept pointing at Bearer, like trying to go Taker, and Bearer was just stood there waiting.
Taker was off.
Yeah, Taker was waiting. And that was good. Why is he not helping it? Well, sacrificing must be made.
I'm going down the pit.
If you need me, I'll be in my pit.
So, basically, the story arc through this episode of Raw is there's 3 people on their hit list. Vince, who they've taken out first. Rock, who they're going to now take out of the casket match. It is a nice brawl. Rock sells a broken arm. Basically ends with a double T.
He gets a massive pop. Say, this is Miami.
Yeah. This is where I think Vince knew Rock was over. Yeah. Afterwards, they put him in the casket, and then he just smashes the shit out of it with it.
Oh my god, throw through it!
I'll get to that. I'll get to that because I've got one line now. Bossman, Big Show beats Bossman. So don't know why I really added that. But yeah,
that's the title match at the end of the year.
Basically, backstage, Slaughter and
Gurria.
I think it's Gurria. They prise open the casket. You don't see the Rock, but they go, oh.
Slaughter. Oh. Somebody get an ambulance. Not really like, get an ambulance. Somebody get an ambulance.
Maybe they should have opened it, because it's like when the Warrior was in there. It should have been Warrior in there, crawling at it. I've been in here for years.
Kamala's shaking in here. The main event, Austin versus Triple H. Basically, Taker assists Triple H. They tease the sacrifice on Taker's symbol, but the Union evens the number, and the show ends with Undertaker getting handcuffed to his own symbol and laughing
Is this what is? I thought he was part of his team, but he's sort of like his mate.
Yeah, they put a mic on him, obviously, and get him a pack and stuff. Then he goes up and he laps. It does make.
Austin don't care though. He's still flipping him off.
Flipping him off. It is a bit weird, but the crowd fucking eat that up.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a great image.
It is a brilliant
symbol by the Rory's War banner thing that's hanging from the ceiling. I don't know why he's laughing.
I'm not sure it helps.
I love this.
I'm not sure it helps.
It cuts it down. Nothing's helped.
Yeah.
No segment has done anything for Taker.
No.
Taker looks awful. He has not carried out any plan so far. He has been foiled every single week.
This is
You are pathetic.
Well, not only that now, but the next time we see him, he's got a belt. So, yeah, the next time we see him, he's going to be.
This is what I thought. The fuck put a belt on Taker at this point. He's awful, but he's obviously injured.
Yeah,
you can tell.
He's eating utterly fucked.
I noticed that in the
No
casket
mercy.
match. Not so much in the casket match because I watched that match and I saw him. I thought, something's happening to him because he barely can move.
He needs a hit. I think I missed the No Mercy match. I missed No
it's
Mercy.
fucking awful.
Basically,
The only good thing is
the No Mercy thing. Oh,
X-Pac gets over.
Yeah.
Or
No
X-Pac.
Mercy, the whole of No Mercy though is just a terrible show. I mean, it is
it's
such a bad show.
Yeah.
It's poorly mic'd.
Without
There's
rock.
about 5 sort of segments of Shane and the Ministry. It's awful.
It's basically a UK show. It's like a house show that they filmed.
Yeah.
But the triple threat, there's some bits in it where at one point Austin's in Triple H, Taker just stands there waiting for the spot for Austin
To end.
He's very clunky.
Taker at this point, he's not the Taker
Oh,
that he will
so-
become. He's so fucked.
Yeah.
Completely and
You
utterly
can
fucked.
tell he needed time.
We'll give you a belt.
I mean, I do always like if you plant a seed at the start of an episode and then play it out. So I do like the fact that this one is we're going to take 3 people out and segment by segment they take them out, but they don't. They fail in the end. But at least there's a story arc, and I do like the imagery. But I completely and utterly agree with you. We were told at the start that this is some evil demonic. I'm going to take over. Now I'm going to team with Bossman, Triple H, and Shane. I'm also no longer the leader in this. I'm kind of after the belt now, not the company, because I was after the company, but now I'm not after the company. Now I'm after the belt. It's all very messy at this point. The last thing you want to do is add to the mess by revealing a Howard Power.
And something
Or
I
a
forgot
greater
to mention on the last show. Because of all this stuff with him kidnapping Stephanie, and yet when he comes out with Linda and Stephanie, he comes out with them in the middle of the ring with the whole corporate ministry. So basically, if he gets knocked down, is Linda going to stop him from taking Stephanie? No.
Linda would be a member because she's a zombie.
That'd be like Linda mega.
Yeah, because you'd have Draculas, you would have zombies, devils,
Mediums. Just so this gives me whiplash.
Yeah. So unfortunately, from here, we didn't watch the Over the Edge pay-per-view for many reasons, but the obvious main reason was the Owen Hart fall. We also skipped the episode of Raw afterwards, mainly because there was obviously no storyline advancement. I don't think Undertaker appeared on camera or anything.
No, I don't think he did.
They're like lower talent on there.
But they did have. I think the Acolytes were on, and I think the Acolytes both.
Yeah, they fought. The Acolytes was definitely on it. I think they fought the Brood or the Hardys.
I think Rock was on it as well.
And
Austin come out, but I don't think he wrestled, did he?
No, and I don't think he spoke, did he either? But
the last one was like Val.
Yeah, needless to say, if this storyline needed anything less, it was that. It didn't help. Obviously, with all the imagery and the way that it had been built, having a death in the middle of it, a legitimate death, didn't help. But at Over the Edge, Undertaker would beat Stone Cold for his 3rd reign as WWE champion. Yes. We move forward 2 weeks then to May 31st. So JR tells us that we will be introduced to the higher power this week after Taker's telling us for weeks and weeks and weeks. He hasn't.
No, we've been
watching it. Yeah. Druids carry out the Taker symbol. JR and Lawler really ham up the greater power, as JR calls it.
Yeah, they're confused as to what he is. I mean, been saying it every week, but we don't know if he's a higher or
Yeah,
greater.
I don't know. They changed it because of what happened with Owen. Is it something that they realised that there's some other connotation with higher power, so they've had to change it? Like the ultimate solution thing where they call him the final solution.
Yeah.
I thought, is it something like that they figured out? We better not call him higher power because of something
I think
else?
it's a bit of,
We ain't sure.
hand trick. This is all going on. We've got bad press at the moment, but look over here. There's a big storyline now. I think that was basically what they tried
Don't look
to
at that.
do.
Look at
Yeah, look at this. Look at this. Squiggling road. But I know even the imagery of people walking out, druids, death music, it's all really poorly timed. Taker tells Austin that he beat him up and he's the champ. Taker's promos are shit, aren't they? They are a bit. He's a bit stingier. I'm telling you. You gotta watch it, Taker. You gotta be careful.
Why is he still got the smoky skull belt?
I don't know. He does switch.
He does switch later on.
We don't really get told why. Oh God! So the higher power will be in the ring tonight. Great. Vince interrupts Taker and rambles on. Says that Taker didn't defeat Austin. He screwed Austin. Says he's going to screw Taker tonight. Oh, very cartoony. I'm going to screw you.
But the fact that you just saw him carry on pointing on the Titantron, it's like, is the camera still on there?
He makes Taker versus Austin for tonight. Shane explains that Taker ain't defending the belt. Vince just goes alright then. But he says Austin will kick his ass regardless. Vince books himself into a match with The Undertaker tonight also. Shane is happy to see that Vince has now got his grapefruits back and agrees that if Vince beats Taker, it'll be a title match. Now, there's a few holes in the plan here because...
Because of the match.
Yeah, because they're now giving Austin a chance to become the World Wrestling Federation champion in a controlled segment between members of the ministry. But anyway, we'll get to that. Shane Man's telling us that if Vince can't beat Taker, then Austin will never get a title shot again. Austin shocks Taker as he's dressed as a druid, but it's revealed slightly early because his theme plays. Text the oh shit! And the Union are out. They're still a thing, and they sort of brawl. Vince explains to the Stooges just wants to fight Taker and doesn't care about winning. Taker briefly talks to Shane about the shot, and then we get a shot of Vince psyching up. So Vince versus Taker. We basically see Taker destroy Vince, but Taker gets DQ'd for knocking the ref down twice. Now, presumably, this is all part of this elaborate plan. But
and
Taker...
Vince's punches when he's there. I thought at one point Taker looked pitch and stop it.
Proper potatoes. And he chases Mike Chioda out the building. Taker fights Vince twice, and he's 0-2 by Survivor Series. We go straight into the locker room where Austin basically says he gets pissed off. He ain't done me a favour. Shane goes into Hulk mode, tossing shit around. Later on, the Acolytes win the tag titles because of Shane. All of this happens in one episode. We get a quick shot to Taker saying some sort of confessional to the higher power.
Yeah. I will not fail you. You've already lost your Vince.
You haven't succeeded in anything. You haven't succeeded at all.
And you have a belt. Stephanie should be here.
Midian's still alive. Fucking bastard. Taker and Austin then shock Ministry attack Austin at the end. Ends in a smoz. High Power walks out to Druid chants as Austin is cornered. No Union here, by the way.
No.
Lawler suggests it must be Shane because Shane isn't in the ring. They bicker over whether it's higher or greater.
Higher or lower than the second one.
It's got to be Bruce.
I thought it was Tower anyway, not sure either way. Austin now, oh god, the fucking lack of logic here. The show ends with the big cliffhanger of Austin seeing who it is and going, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, because he goes, it's me.
It's obviously Hogan because he did this with Mr. America.
Yeah.
They should have done it like that, the reveal. It's me! Put it back down, quick. I'm off now.
That's the end, didn't he?
That's terrible. Then,
and then, like,
Why did they do that?
Brilliant.
I want to eat that.
All this for this.
Even he should have just gone. Hang on.
This doesn't make any sense. Why did you do it well?
There's barely a mention to the higher power for weeks and weeks and weeks, and within one episode, we've been announced him, and he's revealed himself to the main protagonist, all in one episode. Whew.
Jeez, that's crap. It was crap. That show's crap.
It was a poor show, wasn't it?
I didn't like any of it.
I mean, I know it had to change from being a very sombre show to a fast-paced show, but they failed.
I love the fact that Taker's obviously fucked and they booked him in 2 matches as well.
Oh.
Which is nice for him.
The best bit is just still to come, which we're going to get to in a minute.
There was a bit with Paul Bearer. I can't remember what it was, but I did just make a note of Paul Bearer.
His face.
I think he said something. Well, that's actually something you missed on No Mercy, because you got Triple H and Taker teaming up, and then they start fighting. The camera catches Paul Bearer trying to go after China. Because you're all going, Paul Bearer going after China. Fair enough.
There's a point where Triple H walks past Bearer, and the camera's on Triple H, and Bearer's like in shot, and he just
he does.
quick to the camera.
Just pulls the middle.
Just pulls the face.
He's definitely a star.
What a man.
So, Sam's birthday is here. We're the 7th of June.
I think I started drinking at this.
Yeah, we have the big reveal. So the show opens. Vince storms out to the ring in his vest. Says he isn't interested in who the high power is. Oh, sorry, he is interested. I tell a lie. He is interested.
I don't care
who the higher power is. Suggests he's met him. Drops the suggestion it could be Shawn Michaels, one of the McMahons, or Jake the Snake. Which ruined everything. Because why would you drop... Because at that point, if I was in the crowd or watching, I'd know that it wasn't going to be Jake.
Yeah.
And he was one of the big people they thought it was going to be.
The quarterback. Can you imagine if it was Christopher Daniels who they initially wanted it?
Everybody would have gone, why would Austin have gone, you son of a bitch! I don't even know who you are! You've been jumping out on metal! It's a fucking album.
Vince wants to go no holds barred, so I assume it's Zeus. With that, the greater power tonight. You son of a bitch! I watched that match with Brutus. I'm not fighting. Vince thinks
I've
it's
seen your
Shane.
face, Abdullah.
Vince thinks it's Shane, challenging him to a winner-takes-all match between him and Shane tonight. Shane accepts the match and says Taker will be revealing who the greater power is after the break. After the break, Vince has left, and the ministry come out again. Second play of the corporate ministry. The whole gang are out, though. JR and Lawless suggest it's probably Shane because he's not there. Taker tells us that he's professed to a power larger than him for months. No, you haven't, and has assembled an army for his arrival. You haven't assembled an army. You actually dismantled an army because you got rid of Ken Shamrock, Big Show Test, and now you've got Mideon and Viscera. Yeah, so well done, Taker.
You joined another army and claimed it as your own.
Taker introduced
and you're not even the leader of this army. And you're about to go down another rung.
Oh, God. Ministry falls to its knees as the higher power walks out. The higher power takes the microphone. He looks to be talking, and we hear Shane McMahon. Shane McMahon walks out, though, and he puts over the greater power. The greater power, not the fucking higher power, whatever. We can now basically see the butt chin on the power.
You can see it.
Little chin of him.
Shane demands that Vince comes out, but he says, "No, I'm staying here. I'm going to watch it on the Tron." You won't get him to come out, and he demands that he sees his face.
It's me, Austin!
Oh, son of a bitch!
What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
And we get it. It's me, Austin. Son of a bitch. It was me all along.
Now, when I watched this yesterday, because I finished this yesterday, at that exact minute when he lifted his thing up with his smile, I had a phone call come through, so the thing stopped. So I had to go back in and reload it. But I just thought that was brilliant. It was Taker who was ringing. Somebody rang me from work, straight as Vince lifted it up because I was expecting it, and I just thought that's brilliant timing. That is
Fantastic.
Should have been Midian.
It's Midian there. No,
He goes over the top heel, mocking everyone. I fooled you all. Taker looks pretty unimpressed. So did we. Vince tells us.
I was the main one in this.
Well, don't worry, because we're going to get the full explanation from Vince now. He tells us that he did it to teach Austin a lesson he'll never forget. He has no price he won't pay to make his life a living hell. You gave him his title. Vince literally gave him his title during this run. You literally gave him what he wanted. You also had the chance to book him in a match. You had the chance to make sure he never competed for that title again, and you won that match to stop that happening.
That's got to wait till fully loaded.
You also showed him who you were the week before the reveal, you idiot.
And had a whole heat where Austin just come out and beat everybody up. They even tease he knew who it was. He just come out and beat everybody up. Because that's what you see at the beginning of this Raw, right? What happened last week, and then it shows you this is what happened on Heat. And Austin just comes in, stuns everybody, ruins all the matches. Yeah. And they go, oh, it's not a
just look down at these fucking Vince, don't bother. Watch Nitro. He thanks Shane.
At this point.
He thanks Taker and the rest. And Stephanie.
Yeah, I like that. He thanks them all, but then skips the acolytes of Viscera. He even thanks Midian.
I love that. Even thank Viscera. It hasn't been like the main one. Hold on.
Linda and Stephanie walk out. Stephanie's very doughy-eyed. She says, "How can you be so cruel?" Vince says it's just business. Linda says she's going to talk business. Vince says, "I love you."
I love you too.
Yeah.
Let's talk
business. She drops the bombshell that they own a quarter of the company each. She called a board of directors meeting. Vince is really pissed that he wasn't informed. He tells us that the dress code will be a bit less formal. We'll also allow a bit of profanity. And third, Sam's ultimate job is a bit of drinking on the job. Linda.
It's Sam.
That's what they call it. It was for
Linda. Linda tells Vince that she stepped down as the CEO, but not before handpicking her successor. Stone Cold comes out in a little tie.
That's great.
That is brilliant.
I'll forgive everything for the tie.
The crowd completely ape shit. Flips off the corporation, gulps down a beer. He's got a clipboard. Says we're going to have a title shot tonight.
Another authority figure rebooking the show on the bloody
I know, we've seen this before.
Yeah.
Austin says he's going to have a title shot when he chooses. He reminds Vince he's only got a pathetic 25%.
But as well, think about this. Linda was the only one who stepped down. So really, Austin's only got 25%. Because Stephanie don't say, I've given him my 25%.
Well, neither of them actually say that they've given him the 25%. They've only just appointed him CEO. He doesn't have to own any shares.
And if that's the case, does that mean Linda owns more than Vince? Is this Linda's company?
It's all very confusing, this. Austin swings a beer. He books a handicap match with Shane and Vince for the King of the Ring.
Yeah.
Belittles Shane a little bit more before booking another handicap, but Shane versus X-Pac and Kane.
X-Pac.
He allows the... I like how he just goes, I ain't doing this fucking Shawn Michaels shit. Union, pick who you want.
Yeah.
Mick Foley isn't there because he's a crazy bastard.
Or he's injured and he's kind of going now.
I just loved Austin go, you crazy bastard.
Get well soon.
And he books...
Was that real or...
He creates a match. He books a cast match when Triple H's leg has to be in a full-blown cast. Brilliant. In the back later on, because we forget, this is it. That's the higher power dead.
Yeah, that's where I stopped it. And in this segment, it's kind of like you've built all this up, and within a few seconds, nobody cares anymore. It's all Austin and Vince.
Yeah, we've restarted that feud.
So basically, this higher power was to rebuild Austin and Vince, which was still going on.
Not only that, the higher power, literally, it was all a plan which failed 2 seconds.
Within 5 minutes. Your plan
failed. Vince has got foiled by Austin again.
I take that thanks back, Midian.
Stephanie and Linda give Austin a briefcase full of beer. Cole interviews the Union. Big Show thanks Austin, then chooses Undertaker for the title. Clever. Ken,
because this Raw has that.
Yeah.
So that bit though.
Ken wishes Foley all the best. Wants Vince in a Lions Den match. Clever.
But I think at the beginning of this, they'd already booked a Lions Den match between Jeff Jarrett and Shamrock.
And
how convenient.
Where that happened between Shamrock shouting out Bradshaw, I haven't got a fucking clue.
Yeah. But what after the Inter as well? Because I'm sure Jeff Jarrett was the Inter.
Well, that does sum up this whole segment. Test, he wants a match with Stephanie, and he wants it to be a date instead, because he wants to go on a date with Stephanie. And
I've got to go over though.
Vince, apoplectic in the back. He faints and everything. Fucking brilliant.
I should have carried on watching that.
Shane versus X-Pac and Kane, as you can imagine. Posse do a running. Pat and Gerald do a running. I don't know what happens with the match, by the way. Just sort of ends. Rock and Triple H, I should say. Taker starts his feud with The Rock, which ends in 2 weeks at King of the Ring.
Yeah, that's the
by tombstoning Rock on the chair. Shamrock versus Vince. Vince gets another win over one of his megastars. Double J lays out Ken Shamrock with the guitar. That's basically the end of Ken Shamrock. So
Jeff Jarrett in the corporate ministry.
That's what I mean. He thanks Double J later on as well. Taker versus Big
And then
Show.
Jeff goes, can I have that money that you owe me now?
I mean, again, this is like, I've got a load of good segments in my head. What I'm going to do is put them all on one show, because that iconic scene where Taker gets chokeslammed through the ring happens here, but it also doesn't end the show, because Taker just gets out, walks out.
This isn't my bit.
As Big Show.
This is a different bit.
The ministry. So, again, Austin's
Well,
took
that's for the
control.
belt.
Yeah. Nothing happened.
Was
That's
he
the end. He's killed him. He's literally.
The Big Show falls in with him.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I will say is this is the biggest Big Show's looked. Since he's come into the company, he looks like a badass. But literally, Taker's just like, well, I'm off the feud with The Rock, so see you later, mate.
And then within about 4 weeks, is he not teaming with
Yeah, they We'll be back.
I'm glad we don't do that.
So that's the remnants of the ministry.
Everything comes from this.
Oh God, how much shit is going on?
1999 was shit.
Yeah. Any other comments to make on the higher power being revealed and ending in the same hour?
Higher power failing straight away. It's iconic, obviously. It's me, Austin. He's
son of a bitch.
It's a great moment, but also absolutely awful and stupid. Austin, being the CEO, it creates comedy moments and him in a tie. And,
I was going to say the week after that, he's in the.
Yeah. It's just like, hold on, I've spent 3 months waiting for this, and then it's revealed to be the bloke who you were abducting the daughter of, and then you were failing every week, and it's built no one, and no one's gained anything
I'm
from it.
just struggling to see the plan. All I want to see is the plan. I've got no particular issue with Vince being the higher power, as long as it's not so convoluted that the reasoning was just to piss Austin off.
But really,
because
not even involved.
Yeah, other than him losing the belt.
Because surely wouldn't that be the main thing? Because Rock had the belt, so he lost. So okay, get rid of Rock. So okay, we want the belt back. I've got to join with Taker. But then why have you got all this shit happening with
Well, bear in mind that when it started, Rock was champ and in the corporation because he was burning a bear and crying. Presumably, that was happening. This was the plan before then. I don't really get this.
No.
He ain't got a belt before Mania, so why are you burning his bear?
Why? Yeah, why have you tried?
Why is burning the bear affecting Austin?
I don't know. Why? Anyway,
it makes any sense.
The week after on Raw, I don't know whether you watched the segments. You will.
No, I don't know at this point.
Austin at HQ tells a woman how to answer the phone. Basically says, "Who the hell are you?" That's how you've got to answer the phone. Like,
I think I'd get sacked if I did that.
he basically says,
"Who the hell are you?"
He basically tells the bloke who calls that he's fired Vince. Vince is in the ring in the show, by the way, and he's booking the show now. It was Vince.
Austin.
Yeah, because he books Big Show versus X-Pac. Confusing. He books Billy Gunn versus Road Dogg in a dog collar match. Don't know why. And he books the Acolytes versus Kane. Oh, and he books a blindfold match as well between. Who is the blindfold match? Oh yeah, Test and Bossman. Test is in a blindfold. This all happened. Yeah. Ken Shamrock in a straight jacket match against Double J.
Oh, I remember him having the straight jacket.
Pat Patterson and Briscoe are out, and Pat Patterson tells Shane to go to hell and get his own coffee. So they book Patterson and Briscoe versus Viscera and Midian. They don't look too bothered either. Like, all right with that.
Are they going to get a tag title run or something?
Yeah.
They must think, well, we've beat the bottom of the tag card. Maybe they're working the way up. Yeah.
Later, Austin goes into Vince McMahon's office and meets 3 people who work for Vince. One who gets him his coffee, one who gets him his wine, and one who's the second if one of them can't work. Austin says, "I'll have a beer." The next one goes, "Do you want something to eat?" He says, "Oh, I am a bit hungry. I'll have another beer." And then he tells the next one to get him a whiskey. Got a board meeting, brushes that off. In the board meeting, all the suits, he fires Dennis O'Rourke for just being stupid. Hires a mailroom clerk to be in his role, and then makes everyone have a drinking contest. Fucking amazing.
And this is when he pours like a big mountain of shit.
Yeah. He goes to HR, turns this wimpy guy into like an Austin recruit who's swearing and taking his shirt off and stuff.
Is this the precursor to his Broken Skull Ranch?
I must admit, he goes into the head of accounts, he checks the money off Vince to pay Mick Foley and takes Shane's salary and renames it the beer budget. Then basically it ends with him dumping a load of shit in Vince's office.
And pouring a beer on it.
And basically the corporate ministry at the end of this dissolved because Triple H and Taker brawl.
Yeah. They start a feud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The build to King of the Ring, our final stop, sees corporate ministry.
Match.
Yeah, there's still another Raw. Sees Triple H and Undertaker brawling. It's all a nightmare. Austin is out with a ladder. Apparently, he wants to climb the corporate ladder. Drinks a beer. He accepts the stipulation, which is a ladder match now, by the way. So that's been built. They have a bickering between themselves, which doesn't really make any sense because Austin's got 50% and they've both got 25%, but they don't know whether they want to make it a no holds barred or no ministry interfering. The only person who can sort it out, coming up through the Brood, is Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels then he introduces his associates. He introduces his associates, Patterson and Briscoe. Books a match to decide with Stone Cold versus any member of the ministry. And he asks Mick Mannequins. Vince says, "Well, I'll pick Taker." And Sean says, No, he's booked. And Shane goes, "Well, I'll pick Triple H." And he goes, "No, he's booked." And this is where Vince goes, "Fucking boss man then, and he's no one else." Jesus Christ.
What boss man?
Sean's reffing it, so it's Austin versus Bossman, and that's where he makes Vince and Shane versus Patterson and Briscoe. And they dance to Sean's music, shaking their arse. It's fucking brilliant. 20 minutes that segment was as well, by the way. Oh, and it ends with Ken Shamrock laying out Viscera in the chair.
Finally got his heat back on him.
I thought you was feuding with Double J. I don't understand.
I still hate you, Vince.
We get the infamous Midian asking for the European title segment as well.
I found this in your bag.
Can I have it? And gets it. Bossman versus Austin. Basically, Austin wins, and the corporation are banned from the match. So far, Vince, this plan
Going
well.
well.
Yeah, really well.
Well done.
In the back, though, the Ministry beat up Bossman for his loss. So Bossman turns face here.
Why are they beating up? I thought you were dissolved.
Patterson and Briscoe lose to the McMahons because of the debut of Joey Abs. Joey Abs debuts here. This all happens in this whole segment. Triple H versus Taker is our main event for the title. DQ, obviously. Rock hits the rock bottom on Taker. This is where the Brahma Bull symbol drops from the ceiling. Who does he put on the Brahma Bull symbol? His Paul Bearer. But they can't lift it.
No, they just have it like stand up.
He just has to stand next to it. Oh.
I remember that on the build.
And this is where Bossman attacks the corporate ministry for him being attacked earlier. So it's the completely dissolved the corporate ministry.
Does he get fired at this point, Bossman, or does he become a face?
No,
because obviously he's with Vince and Shane after. He's sort of like not really explained, but kind of kayfabe explained as to what happens in their next match. But that was it. So it was to tease again, I assume. Some of these are fucking brilliant.
To screw you up.
I forgot.
Teach you a lesson.
I forgot who Vince picked as his replacement partner. But it's fucking brilliant.
Oh,
so, we go forward to the King of the Ring.
I watched the Backlash and I watched the pay-per-view matches first before the segment. When I saw that.
We've reached. Well, how many hours are we in? 2 hours in, and we've reached the top of the mountain. It's King of the Ring, 1999. So throughout the night, we're given the story that Shane is injured. He's apparently been injured by Ken Shamrock. We get an update. Shane's out, and basically Shamrock was taken out by Steve Blackman. Vince says he's not able to complete Pete. Shane off camera wants to, but Vince won't allow him. He addresses the crowd to state the match isn't taking place. Sean says, ain't letting you off the hook. So Vince says, basically, earlier you mentioned a suitable replacement, so he's picking a suitable replacement. Later on, Triple H is the tag partner, but he has him removed from the building for, I think he got involved in the title match between Taker and Rock, which was why that sort of ended in a smoz. So before our main event, Vince is without a partner. So he introduces his partner to the crowd. He's fucking Lethal Weapon Steve Blackman.
Got John Blackman down the car right now.
I mean, he looks like a fucking badass, doesn't he?
He does.
Oh, yeah, but the crowd are a bit like, what?
What?
I do hate the fact that, because if Blackman had come out at any other point in his career, he would have been a star earlier or later. But in the Attitude, if you weren't like some sort of over-the-top crazy character, they just shat on the fact, because he didn't need a character, because he literally looks like he would kill your family. It's just madness.
Well, it's like Severin, ain't it?
Yeah, exactly. Severin's the same.
Well, he was meant to be in the ministry, wasn't he?
But just to remind us, one little thing just before we leave and watch the last match, just to remind us of the craziness of the Attitude Era, we also get the big reveal from GT fucking V. Another thing we'll probably be back for. Because Shane talking with the posse, sort of shaking his head as if I'm fine, and Sean then marches into the ring for our match.
Yeah.
So we've got it. After the tease, again, a load of angles to end up where we started anyway. It's Austin versus the McMahons. Austin's pop, massive. JR puts him over so well. It's a double clothesline to the McMahons and lays them out. Everything that he could literally just do a shit in the middle of the ring. And the crowd just pop.
White hot.
He stomps the McMahons and Luther. There's his Shane. Lays in an elbow on both of them and then uses the ring post on Shane's balls. Shane gets a little heat there with a sneaky clothesline and both men jump Austin, beat him down. Not for long though, as they both eat steel steps and Austin pushes a ladder onto Vince. He tosses Vince into the set. I think they had better plans for what happened with it. Yeah. Shane climbs on top of the set. The set basically is a load of ladders with then the mound of ladders set up as a roof. Austin dismantles this using the McMahons and eventually pulls a cord, which presumably was supposed to drop the ceiling onto the McMahons, but it doesn't really work, and it
No.
kind of sort of flops, and they have to really sell.
And...
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of hit them, but it's not great. Austin makes his way to the ring, sort of gives us our first tease of an ending, but Shane and Vince are back up. He knocks Shane over the table into JR's lap. JR goes proper cheer. He's here! Fucking knock him out, the bastard. Austin then hits a bionic elbow on the Stanish announce table. Vince then suckers Austin onto the ladder and tosses him onto the US table, which he doesn't break and just bounces off. Vince teases winning, but obviously he does a Regal, and Dave Taylor can't really climb a ladder. Anyway, at the top of this, JR calls it a suplex. It's not a suplex. I don't know what it is, but Vince is removed from the top of the ladder by Austin. Austin Irish rips the McMahons into a ladder sandwich, and then Irish whips Shane into the ladder, which bounces on him, before crushing him with the ladder. Vince lifts the ladder to dump Austin, and they again try everything now, but instead of use the ladder, they try a boost. Try and get on his shoulders, and it's terrible. We get the stunners that the crowd definitely wanted. The McMahons are down. Austin reaches up for the briefcase, but the briefcase raises up. Austin's pissed off. He accuses the timekeeper and Howard Finkel of doing this. Shane sacrifices Austin and Vince. I suppose we're supposed to believe that by pushing the briefcase pushing the ladder rather. They both crash. The briefcase apparently lowers as well, though I didn't really see it lower that much, but it lowers, and Shane grabs the briefcase, and all of this was to restore the power that Vince already had at the start of it, and Vince and Shane are in control of the WWE.
Full circle.
Yeah, the plan worked.
Back right where we were.
We're now where we were at the beginning.
The plan was to waste
the ministry are still together.
Fucking months.
Oh, and apparently it was Bossman all along. Who
that was the thing. Yeah.
Absolute garbage.
Yeah.
What a load of shit.
I thought the match was okay.
The match is good,
the whole concept as to why we're fighting, and I know they've got to win. I know that Austin isn't going to win, so that ruins a main event of a pay-per-view that you know the ending before it even happens.
Not only that, in a month's time, Austin beats Taker to take his belt back. Taker then is just gone from the feud, and Vince McMahon is gone from the company
forever.
Forever for a month, and then he's
he comes back before Unforgiven, wins the belt,
and
gives the belt back, and feuds with Triple H. And Taker's in that six-pack, and Taker buggers up.
For me rebooking, and I thought,
he does slow down. Does not slow down.
3 months ago, you all hated each other, and now he's a face, he's a heel. You're with him. Bulldog's turned up in jeans. Bossman's
in the kennel from hell. Austin gets run over at the end.
Austin's dead.
Bossman, your reward is Al Snow.
Bossman's eating dogs. All of this happens in the space of 6 months.
Show's dad's coffin. Bossman had a great 99. What a year.
The only thing that didn't happen...
The world's most valuable bastard, I told you.
The only thing that didn't happen, that didn't change, was Midian and Viscera was the same level throughout.
Well, they replaced Taker in that Smackdown where Triple H had to fight all of them in different matches.
But the ones that come out the best in all of this is Pat and Jerry.
I mean, that's the thing that sums it up.
Where's Bearer go?
For me, the whole segment, I can get behind... No, I can't really, because it was a crap angle, but I can kind of accept angles not working out the way that they planned them to work out, as long as at the end of it they can rebook it so someone comes out. I ask you, who is more relevant than they were at the start of this, at the end of it?
Pat and Gerald.
Probably Pat and Gerald.
And probably Austin.
For Austin, was the most relevant. He somehow got even more relevant.
I don't think there was anything else.
Maybe Triple H.
Possibly.
But
I don't think Triple H becoming the thing that showed me.
He should have got his push away from this. He didn't pour into it.
Well, it's a perfect example was when Vince and Shane was talking about who's going to fight Austin. And he went, I'll have Taker. And he didn't go, I'll have Triple H first. And Triple H is already second in the corporate ministry. and they don't want that, so they have to end the corporate ministry because you can't have Taker and you can't have Triple H as your second heel behind Taker, or if you am, you've got to make sure it's not evident to the crowd. But you literally told us he wasn't as good as Taker. So fucking stupid. This is a terrible angle.
It is.
With so much good involved in it, some good angles, but it is overall one of the worst angles I have seen. It just doesn't make any sense at all.
No, it makes no sense. Nobody really gets built up out of it. It's like they sort of went, we're going to book this higher power. And then they went, well, who's going to be it? And they went, we'll figure that out in 3 months.
It's going to be Oli.
It's basically like when somebody just goes, okay, we need a story for Austin and Taker. What is it? And just everybody talking at once, writing everything down and just saying, that's it.
Yeah.
Exactly. So too many people talking.
And then what we'll do is we'll put the Ken in blood, send him in a boiler room. Okay, and then that'll be that week. And then what are you going to do next week? Oh, we'll worry about that next week. No, we're going to do next week. We're going to have a big show, fight Paul Bearer, and then demand that he gets beaten up by the ministry. Then we're going to have Taker on a phone. Is he controlling him? Doesn't matter about that. He's got a phone now.
Let's bring back Cactus Jack for one night for no reason.
But we ain't going to keep him as Cactus Jack, but it makes sense. Okay, well oh, Jesus. None of this makes any sense.
This is typical Russo booking.
I don't really understand why people like the Attitude Era, because it hurts my brain. And every match is so sad because you know how it's all going to end.
But it is.
It's fun.
It's fun.
Very fun.
It's fun. Every week you got to watch what the fuck's going to go on.
I think
there's no sort of. It don't ever stop. There's no lull in it.
Basically, the Attitude Era was basically WF become a sitcom where every episode didn't match the rest. And there was no overall story. It was just episode to episode.
And I'm not being a snobbish wrestling fan, but the truth is the reason that there isn't a bigger audience now is because to watch Raw or SmackDown, you have to like wrestling.
Yeah.
When you didn't have to watch the Attitude Era. You didn't have to like wrestling because the wrestling was irrelevant.
Yeah.
The wrestling was completely irrelevant to what the stories was. Yeah. So it was basically, we'll end that so we can now get into the next story that we need to tell.
Well, it was it was treated as a TV show, as it really should be more now.
Well, that's the problem. Now they've probably gone too far the other way, and they're pandering to a section of the crowd that are wrestling fans anyway. These people who are never watching this bastard thing again, and then they'll look at what happened on SmackDown and Raw because they're wrestling fans.
Yeah.
That's what wrestling fans do. The reason they haven't got an audience anymore is because if you don't particularly care for wrestling, you ain't going to sit down and watch 3 hours of Raw. You could watch any of these episodes that we've gone through and not. It's just so easy to watch.
Yeah. You just want one episode. You could just say, I'm going to watch a Raw. Just pick a random one for this time, and that's it.
Yeah.
You got to think, I'll watch what happens next week. Yeah. Nothing will happen to follow what's happened the week before.
Or even the segment before.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a TV show, and that's what it was treated like, and then your pay-per-views were your wrestling shows in a sense.
Yeah.
And it is indicative of the current product where there is I don't want to see a 25-minute match on Raw. Why would I buy a pay-per-view then?
Yeah. Well, everything's the same, isn't it? Everything
looks the same, feels the same, sounds the same, smells the same, all the announcers are the same, everybody works the same, everybody books the same, all the shows are the same, it looks the same.
And it's obvious to me that the better product is SmackDown over Raw, and it's got an hour's less wrestling to book, and that's the problem. If you oversaturate the market too much, now this is probably completely the other end, where you've oversaturated the market with so much crap that it blurs your mind.
Well, WCW did it because they went to 3 hours there.
Yeah.
At this point,
around this point they went to 3 hours, and then they dropped back down to 2 hours.
The biggest problem with that though is that they hadn't done any. The good thing about this, whilst I laugh about Billy Gunn and Gangrel is they had defined characters. When WCW went from 2 hours to 3 hours, they had to bring out Greg, Jim Powers, stuff like that, who had no character development at all.
That was essentially job matches.
I like how we've ended up talking about Jim Powers and Greg Valentine at the end of the segment. So, we got to wrap it up because we'll be here for hours, folks. So, I'm going to do the round table. No match of the run. You can choose a match if you want to, but segment/match of the run, Sam.
Taker on his phone. It's because of how ludicrous.
I love that. I love the fact that no one in the world that's listening to this podcast thought we was going to pick Taker on his phone.
But the thing is, there are people who might listen to this might want to go, well, what are they on about? Find it.
Yeah.
And then realise why am they laughing so much about it?
Exactly like a 10-second segment.
It is great though. It's a worthy winner, I think. I'll put Sean as the riot police because I loved that segment. I loved.
It was a good segment.
It just caught me off guard.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love Patterson, Briscoe, and Sean as policemen.
And Sean just dancing and Vince kind of looking. Ooh.
I'm going to go with the wedding.
Yeah, the wedding's good. Their worst segment.
Ooh.
I'll be clear on mine. Mine was the reveal of the corporate ministry on the Smackdown. It was terrible. It was such a bad segment. It was supposed to be the big sort of meetings of the two mega groups, and neither group mattered. And in fact, both groups were weaker because they'd lost Ken and Ted. So.
Yeah, I'll probably have to agree with that because you'd think it was some big reveal, but when you look back on it, you just think, "Oh, is that it?
Yeah,
is that it?"
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the reveal of Vince as the higher power. Not after. I like
the worst segment.
Comedy.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's probably a good segment, but it's the worst segment for a higher
because
power.
I've watched 3 months and it's like, oh, it was the bloke that you was fighting, and it was all because of Austin who were involved in half of it. It's like, what the fuck?
But that's the only thing that happens a lot. It happened with Aces and Eights with Bubba. They was beating him.
He never got beat up there, did he? He always sort of.
Well, he got smacked in the head by a big
punch.
But they did some things where he explained every little thing on it. So
yeah, that would see the Aces and Eights. The biggest problem with the Aces and Eights was just the development of the storyline. They never really got behind it. The biggest problem here is they got far too deep in it and just then they couldn't get out of the weeds.
That just kept adding to something instead of.
And then this week, Ryan Shamrock.
Transforming woman.
MVP.
MVP?
I mean, it's Austin for me. Austin made it more watchable. Imagine if it was just Ken and that storyline all the way through.
Yeah, if Austin had his power and goes, hey, yeah. Imagine that. Austin just went, hey, doing this.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, Paul Rock would have to do with it, wouldn't it?
I mean, to me, there's three. It's either Patterson and Briscoe, Stone Cold or Paul Bearer. It's out of the three.
Yeah.
Vince is
the start of the run
at the very beginning.
Son of a bitch!
I mean, Vince's acting is brilliant. He does make it so watchable.
And the bit when he goes into the closet with Taker, and he's going, ah! It's like, oh,
running after Vince. Where is it? Where is this son of a bitch?
And he's so intense with his beating up of Midian and Potato in Taker. I go with Vince, even though it was a terrible reveal.
Yeah, I've got to go with Vince because he made me laugh for the first part, and then he just.
And then he was the bloke he was fighting, and the LVP I've put Viscera and Midian, unfortunately, because they started at this level in a mega angle and stayed at that level.
I think they dropped.
Yeah, at least Vincent was, relevant with the NWO.
One matches
he won more, one match.
I've got to just go with Viscera because at least Midian ended up with a belt at the end.
Couldn't fit round Viscera.
He didn't even win it.
He still got a belt.
I'm going to take it. I think he looked awful. He progressively every week got worse and worse. Looked fucked. Looked like he couldn't give a shit at the end. And he was champ.
To me, they needed an out for Taker. Because, he was fucked.
Yeah, he was gone.
And by the summer, he's fucking like third tag team match against Kane and X-Pac on the card.
That's another thing. Why more Kane involved? Really, you could have put him in because, he's Taker's brother. Couldn't you?
He was over here I don't care.
I don't care. You had that story as well going on. It's too much.
I think the bottom line, too much.
Yeah.
Too much.
What? Brian Christopher and Scott Taylor?
Yeah, that's
they involved.
yeah.
That wasn't enough.
To me, this is the whole segment can be summed up in just too much. Good ideas. I don't mind the higher power thing. I don't even mind, the satanic thing now is a bit sort of played out. So you can kind of, because after the match, everyone had to have a fucking dark angle or paint a symbol to the head or Charlie Manson or whatever. But, at the time, I suppose it was sort of.
It was just Taker doing it, or
and in the WWE, you've only got to go back 3 years, and there was a fucking clown and a garbage man and stuff.
Yeah.
So,
plumber.
but yeah, for me, too much. Could have been so much better.
Yeah,
writing killed it.
Yeah, good idea. Terrible execution.
Yeah. So, we now, 2.5 hours in, take the attempt to rebook the higher power and do it better. Now, I am going to do a whistle-top tour of mine because we're well deep in. So
yeah, because
I'm
that one's very
succinct.
succinct.
But, so, I'll
I got
start.
4 pages.
Oh,
Yeah, I got that.
I've got 4 lines.
I'll start us off. So, basically, Taker would join Bear at Fully Loaded. Say all his loyalty to McMahon over the year got him nowhere. Saw stars like Michaels and take the belts. He was just running the company but never got the belts and all that.
Yeah.
And even now his mortal enemy Stone Cold was champion, and he chose the young, fresh Rock to be the one who went after him instead of him. Higher power is at play here now. He's answering to a new power who's told him to form a ministry and take what McMahon holds dear, which is his company. Build would be the same. Acolytes, Midian, Viscera. I was going to replace Viscera with Albert, and it really bothered me because I wanted to then find a name to call Albert, and I just thought, what the fuck am I bothering with that for? It just doesn't matter enough to my. I was just thinking, I don't really
So
like
would you have
Viscera.
Viscera and Dross?
I was considering. I don't know what I was going to do with Mabel, but I was considering renaming Albert as some sort of vessel, but I just thought I'm wasting time here. Taker would interject himself in the feud between Triple H and Kane. This is leading up to Mania. Have his ministry attack Triple H on the build to Mania. Kane would also be beaten down. There was a message to McMahon because Kane was in the ministry, the corporation, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So that makes sense. At Mania, Taker would beat Triple H in the cell with a controlled bump right in Triple H off TV for a while. He's gone. From Mania, Taker would kidnap Stephanie night after Mania. He would explain that Stephanie was the higher powers now. So this is a couple of weeks. Every week, Nixer explains all that so we can get more Bieber cleavage. And he wants to see if the McMahons wanted to see Stephanie. If the McMahons want to see Stephanie again, they'd need to sign over the company to him. Vince would send his corporation after them, but Bossman, Test and Ken would all get taken out by the newest member of the ministry, Albert, the Big Show. Big Show would turn and sign with Taker, because I do actually like the dynamic of Taker and Big Show, as long as Taker isn't fucking talking about shoes. Vince would yield and sign over his 50% of the company, because it is Shane and Vince 50-50 to Taker. Shane, no, not doing that. Rebels against his parents. Taker would entice Shane to fight a backlash for the shares of the company. So if he would basically say to Shane, look, you can own it all if you beat me. So Shane would be like, alright, I'll take you on. But he's playing games with Vince, and he'd say that Vince has got to fight Shane instead of him fighting him. So Taker would play mind games about Vince not loving Shane as much as Stephanie, but at Backlash, Vince would win and reluctantly sign over the shares to Taker. I'd have the marriage now because he's got the company and he can do what he wants. Higher power. Austin get involved, same in Steph, because I think Austin needs to be involved in the feud. Shane would turn though and join the ministry 1 week later, not as a leader, as a lost soul. My dad don't love me. Kind of thing. The next night, the higher power would be revealed. Oh, sorry, I missed out a massive amount. At
Don't worry. It happened in real life. Just carry on.
And over the edge, Undertaker would win the title thanks to the Ministry and Shane. And the next night, the higher power would be revealed. And I am as Jake Roberts. He would explain that Austin 316 was born off his back. The darkness of the Undertaker was born off the darkness of Jake Roberts, playing into their 91 sort of shit.
Yeah.
Vince had the chance to work with Jake Roberts, but he chose the wrong path. Pat. Pat. And at King of the Ring, Jake wants to finish Vince McMahon forever. He's taken his son, he's taken his company, he even took his daughter for a brief while. Now he wants to end it all. Books Big Show and Taker versus Austin and Vince. Austin would brawl with the Ministry, which leaves Taker and Vince. Taker would have Vince beaten, but Triple H would return and cost Jake his match. Jake would be furious with the Ministry and punish The Undertaker for him losing and have him fight the Big Show so I can do the chokeslam through the ring angle. Stephanie would return with Vince and explain, this is very convoluted, but Jake owns 99% of the stocks because she has the 1% gift that Vince gave her as an 18th birthday present and decides, and as all decisions have to be agreed upon by all the shareholders. So Jake's pissed off. Vince would, on behalf of Stephanie, be named Stone Cold #1 contender for the title. Jake would want to win and takes all shots. Takes all matches.
All the shots.
Takes all the shots. All the shots. Whoever wins that owns all the shots. Jake would want to win a takes all match for the company as Big Show, Shane and Jake battle Triple H and Vince. Taker would lose the title and be beaten down and kicked out of the Ministry. This is how I'm sort of moving Taker into have your rip sorted. And at the main event, Taker would interfere and cost Jake the match. And the next night on Raw, Vince would gloat about beating the Ministry and owning the company again. Stephanie, though, would turn and allied with a healed-up Triple H as co-owners. So Stephanie ain't signing over the company to Vince.
Yeah.
Stephanie's won because she had all the shares. Triple H is pissed off at Vince because Vince named Stone Cold the #1 contender instead of him after he saved him. So this explains Stephanie and Triple H being a union more so than the drugged up. They got 2x4 and more so than the drugged up thing. Shane and Vince would be beaten up by a newly healed DX, and Triple H versus Austin would be set for SummerSlam. You can add Mick Foley in if you want an out as to why Austin, because Austin had boo-boo face. I'm not losing to him. Taker would feud with the Ministry, taking him out one by one until SummerSlam where he fights Big Show. He'd lose the match, but Big Show would realise he no longer leads Jake Roberts, and he would knock out Jake Roberts, which would just basically move us forward and away from this nonsense. I'm not particularly happy with any of that rebooking, I must admit.
I am happy with mine either.
As much as what I've realised is that everyone thinks, well, it is better to have, Daniel, Jake, Jackal, whoever it might be. But when you start to put it down, because there's so much going on, trying to tie everything up is so difficult. So I'm going to throw to you.
Right. Mine, I've kind of gone from Aftermania to King of the Ring.
Yes,
that's how far
it's up to you, but we want.
Yeah,
just
that's far
walk in and say, higher power, but then the person you have called is not available. Left the country.
Right, so, the beginning, Shane would be took out by Austin after Mania because trying to screw him at Mania for the belt, trying to keep it on Rock. Rock would then get kicked out like he'd be blamed. So you lost the belt, you failed the corporation. That's it. Still at the same time, you still got the stuff with Taker going after Vince. The higher power demands that your company give it to me, we're going to have to touch Stephanie and all this. Keeping all that bit. You can burn the Teddy as well. Keep all that because that was probably visual. At Backlash, keep the Taker kidnapping Stephanie as normal. I wouldn't have the Taker Shamrock match. I wouldn't have Taker on the show.
No! That was why I took him out of the match at Backlash, because Taker needs to have
As little wrestling as possible. So take him out, because obviously he's doing all this. Vince is keeping him away from wrestling, but obviously sneak in, take the thing. You can still have the rematch because they booked, because Rock had got his rematch against Austin. You can still do that, but then you can have Shane wanting to take the belt, but then again you don't want it on Rock, so you can have that conflict. Not Shane, sorry. Spoiler. But you know, all this going on. The corporation, Stephanie would be took out. You wouldn't have found the same night. She would be took away, you'd see her, but Vince would send the corporation out to try and find him. By the way, Boss Man, you don't see him any time after Mania until later on in the year, because he's just been on.
Next time you see him, he's eating dogs.
Sort of, because that's after this. I have actually thought you don't see Bossman until after this storyline.
Yeah, well, that makes sense.
Have him go. So obviously, because he was the enforcer and he tried to take out Taker, so now he sends Shamrock. He can send Test, the Posse. You know, if you want them, they can go. The Ministry, take them all out.
Wow.
So then. He does. Shamrock is took out at Backlash by the Ministry and Taker, but they don't have a match. He's just took out and sacrifices him. All of this ain't in order. Vince would lose on everybody, so he's stuck on his own. Even Patterson and Briscoe could get took out. He's on his own. He can get these phone calls from him saying, you've got nothing left but your company to stop this and to get your daughter back. We'll give this. So he wants it back, but he wants the WWE. He begs Austin and Rock to help because they're the only ones. But obviously Rocky's kicked him out of the corporation, so he said, fuck off. Austin, it's Austin, the same thing. He says, I don't want to do it, refuse it. So
he gets Val.
Not Val. So he does sign over the WF to the higher power. You do see the higher power bits in his cloak and whatever, you will take it, but his voice is all distorted. Because he's now got the company, he gives Taker the title match at Over the Edge against Austin, which he would win the belt with the higher power. At this point, I have put mid in as European because the European champ has been took out and he's just been gifted to him because the higher power now has the thing, and the APN tag champ. This you're just there.
Inter.
No. Hardcore and a push. So you can keep all this. I'm running roughshod. There's no corporation. That's completely disbanded now. Vince is obviously still trying to find it. The 7th of June Raw. You've got Austin because you've got Austin saying, "I've got my rematch. By law, you've got to give it me." Saying that he fights Taker. Vince is in Austin's corner for the match. They start fighting and brawling, and then Vince manages to grab the high power, but he pulls the hood off. It's Shane who's the higher power. Hence why I've wrote Shane out. You don't mention him, he can do it. Because the promo that Shane cut when he was talking to Vince Linden, that saying it was me, that should have been the higher power, really. In my eyes, when I saw that, I thought you've kind of ended that there.
I know
because it works.
Well, that's what I said.
It kind of cleans everything up, but then you've just made more of a mess. You kind of cleaned it up, and then just tucking on his shit there, and just you know what I mean. You clean something up, and just make it dirty. So then the week after, they would say,
"What a euphemism!"
You know what I mean. So then the week after, obviously Shane would come out with the Ministry and do basically that promo. I couldn't wait. I wanted control, but I knew it was going to get to Stephanie later on. So I wanted what was owed to me, and I couldn't wait for you to die. Basically, kind of do what they did. You could even link this with the Alliance later on exactly, when he gets he's going to King of the Ring. Couldn't wait for him to die. King of the Ring, you've got Austin v Taker for the belt, and then Vince says, "All right, and because it's you've betrayed me in all this. This wasn't part of you getting your shares. We're going to put everything in a ladder match between Vince and Shane for it."
What a match.
And Vince would win, get the control, because then you could have Shane rut off for a bit, or just become a manager. And then again later on, you could tie in when he buys WCW. That's why, because he lost
manages the Big Show.
All of that.
Big Show.
I did try and clean all this up. But then I would say have Austin win the belt. You could have Taker just disappear then.
You killed them off quicker than...
Well, I could have gone a bit further for Fully Loaded. Maybe Taker saying, okay, if I don't win, I'll disappear. And Shane.
through the
You know what I mean? Like,
the sad Taker music playing as you
Shane, because Shane's lost, Taker's lost. Obviously, they blame each other and whatever you say. Can do all that. So, basically, Shane, because of that one promo.
Yep, seems reasonable.
He should have ended with me.
Well, it's all on you now. Save us.
Save
us. I thought Sam's was better than mine, so it's on you now.
Yeah, mine ain't very good. Because I just sort of end and start. I'd start by saying, I'm going to keep the majority of the build.
Yeah.
The only thing I wouldn't do is have the corporate ministry formed before.
So we want to there.
Happen.
Okay. Yeah.
The higher power is going to be revealed. I ain't going to have any. It's me with Austin the week before. The higher power is going to be revealed before the corporate ministry form.
Right.
And it's going to be Jake.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be Jake.
Yeah.
Austin ruined his career.
Yeah.
He lost to him at King of the Ring.
You said Bubby had drugs.
And at King of the Ring.
That ain't true.
At King of the Ring 3 years before. Since then he's rebuilt. He's grown into a higher power. He mastered the ministry to destroy the rattlesnake. He's a better snake. He's a bigger snake.
I hadn't even thought of that.
I am
imagery with the snake.
And at King of the Ring, it's going to be Jake versus Austin.
Oh, I don't want to have Jake in many matches.
Oh,
don't forget, we watched him. We watched him in '98.
I know. I'm booking him.
Is he in his Big Warrior shirt?
Does he come out with a snake as his cock?
The higher power, snake cock. Jake is going to beat Austin.
No!
Not clean. You're going to DDT him and that's it, I've won. And no, it's going to be because of Shane.
Yeah.
Turning on Vince.
Yeah.
Because Vince is going to get involved, all that shit. And the corporate ministry is formed as King of the Ring.
Yes.
With Jake, Taker, all them people. Okay. Yep. Shane's going to explain that after Jake's loss to Austin in the King of the Ring tournament, that Austin sort of ruined him, and Vince then let him go.
Yeah,
not released
I think that's about right. Yeah,
but Shane.
Well, he had the story with Lawler after.
Oh, that never happened. And Shane
It was until 97.
Shane is the one who saved sort of
Yeah.
Jake from being tossed aside into the wrestling wilderness. He reached out to Jake.
Shane Yoga.
And yeah, Shane Yoga realised his focus. And fully loaded, it's Austin and Vince versus Jake and Shane.
Yeah.
Imagine that
Oh
match.
God, the poster.
Jake and Shane win thanks to the corporate ministry.
Yeah.
SummerSlam, Vince challenges Shane to a match. No outside interference, no bollocks. Control of the company.
Shane wins.
No. Vince and Shane also are allowed to name #1 contenders to The Undertaker's WWF title. What's the matter with you? Because you know who's going to be in the match.
I do.
At SummerSlam, so it'll be a triple threat. Vince names Austin, Shane names Viscera. Shane obviously names Jake, because it's got to be. So it's Austin versus Jake versus Taker for the belt at SummerSlam. We're on a highway to hell.
None of them can work at this point. Austin's
What you on
fucked.
about?
Taker's fucked. Jake is fucked.
No, Jake sorted his life out. He's great shape. I'll put him on a regime. He's got in shape. Vince beats Shane thanks to Steph.
Yeah.
And Austin wins the belt due to Jake and Taker sort of miscommunication, and it's for the higher power. Yeah, but I want to be the champion. But your foot's fucked. Shut up. Austin Stunner, we win. Arguing, Taker refused to lay down for the higher power. Blah 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 blah. Taker is kicked out of the corporate ministry, and at Unforgiven, it's Jake and Triple H. Yeah.
What's
Because
the
he
deal?
leads, obviously, versus Taker and Big Show. And then an Unforgiven.
Did he turn Jake into his boots?
Is that what he was on about?
Jake and Triple H win because Big Show turns and he can slam him through the ring on Unforgiven.
Yeah,
Clear
out.
joins with him.
Yeah.
And that was where I stopped.
Jake's still in the corporate
Jake's
ministry.
not lost the match. Well, he lost the title match. But that's it.
Yeah.
Because then I would.
This is definitely us reaching the point of not giving a
I'd
shit
watched a lot
anymore.
of it and I'd got fed up.
All three of us didn't want to do that rebooking. I'm telling you that now. None of us
I
enjoyed
wanted to,
that.
but I was kind of.
I didn't know how.
How can you stop the voices? Because everybody talking at once with all the stuff. How can you just say, shut up a minute? What have you been stopped?
And if any of you out there can answer that question, let us know on our website, which is bettercallcreative.com, or our Twitter page, which is at BCCpod.
Say Jake with his
The Iron Bear with his Jake with his snake cock. That was where the hood come off. The hood come off the snake.
No.
Did you now realise I think we've all just reached the end
It's
there?
my snake.
We ain't done the fantasy yet.
No, so yeah, if you want to let us know how you would have rebooked it to include Christopher Daniels, let us know at our website, which is bettercallcreative.com, or our Twitter page, which is at BCCpod, or on Facebook, which is facebook.com/BCCpod. Let's get out of here. We end this episode, as we always do, with a fantasy card. And as this was a rather flat, disappointing surprise, we took the challenge to look at 6 poor or weak surprises, going up against 6 better wrestling surprises from wrestling's past in a fantasy card. Jack, as you round us out and you're giggling away, I can't wait.
hate one of them.
Yeah, to find out your surprise. So, yeah, over to you.
So first, my match number 1 is good surprise Dean Malenko as Cyclope.
Yeah.
Versus bad surprise Paul Roma as a horseman.
Oh, I forgot that.
Comedy. So I thought he was the first one I thought.
Yeah.
And Dean goes over.
What a match as well, Dean and Paul. Eat the crowd. My first match is Rikishi run over Austin, which we reviewed. Versus,
Which led off this story.
Yep, versus the mystery partner for Ted DiBiase at Survivor Series. It's The Undertaker. And I would put over The Undertaker.
My first one, bad surprise, Rikishi, who ran down Austin. Good surprise, AJ in the Royal Rumble.
Can't argue with that.
Can't put over AJ.
Hell of a match, Rikishi, AJ. Jack.
My match number 2 is Hurrah over Austin Rikishi versus the leader of the Aces and Eights, Bully Ray. And Bully Ray's Hurrah.
We reviewed that as well. 2 of our reviews against each
No, our reviews of shit reveal.
Yeah, well, an upcoming review we will be doing on May 19th will be Kane. May 19th, Kane. The explanation of what that was. Versus...
Did we ever get an explanation?
Well, he's going up against Kane. The reveal of Kane.
Without his mask.
No, Kane. Yeah, no, Kane.
Oh, Kane
was revealed to be Kane.
Yeah,
versus Kane
in the same suit.
Hell of a lot of Kane.
With frizzy hair.
And I'm putting over Kane. And I'll leave it at that.
Guess which one.
My next one is bad reveal. Jason Jordan as Kurt Angle's son.
Yep.
Versus leader of Aces and Agent Bully Ray. Although it was it was kind of a good
Did
reveal.
we all rebook? I would have to listen to that back to see whether we all booked Bully Ray as the leader. I'm pretty sure we all
I think we did,
I booked Magnus as the protector.
It was a long time ago now.
That was the
second episode.
Second or third, something like that. Yeah. Bubba's going over.
Match number 3 is Stardust as a bad reveal because
That's what I thought.
No, I mean, well, Stardust was shite because you had a very, very hot tag team and then completely killed him and then made him
no one's going to defend. In fact, one of the recommended future podcasts that I've written down is Stardust, so I'm not defending Stardust.
Versus Brody Lee, the leader of the Dark Order.
Yeah.
And I'm putting over Brody Lee.
Okay. My next match is another podcast we've done. Fake Diesel and Fake Razor, the reveal, versus one of the things that I watched recently, Pentagon and Vampiro, where Vampiro was revealed to be the master behind Pentagon.
It's me, Austin!
Taking out people.
Where's the fucking music?
Pentagon and
What a
Vampiro.
match that had been,
In fact, is
Pentagon and Rick Bogner.
So,
Right, my next one is bad reveal. Who was attacking Jeff? It's Matt. Because it should have been Christian. Vince, don't mind it that it got leaked, that he's back. Just have him be, because it makes sense. Then it just said, Matt versus Countdown to the Millennium, Chris Jericho. The first one. Because I was thinking, well, the rest of them wasn't as
never
good.
lived up to that.
Yeah, I mean the save was 2-2-2, but it could have been Perry Saturn. So Jericho
We're
first
never
time.
rebooking that.
Yeah.
I'm doing Save Us 222 is Perry Saturn.
Look at the time, John. Look at the 2 times, John. Jericho wins over Fat Matt.
Match number 4. See, originally I had good reveal DDP as the stalker.
It was
No,
a good
because it was a
reveal,
good
but it was a
reveal.
bad story.
Oh,
But I'm not going to have that. I'm going to have AJ Styles in the Rumble. Well, that's not a reveal. Chris Jericho is Millennium Man.
It
It's
isn't
It's more of just a
It
debut.
was more surprise that I was rebooking because I mean reveals is different. Is
I'm going to have
difficult.
Jericho as the Millennium Man versus bad reveal, the Masked Man being Animal in WCW.
I would have missed
What
that.
the fuck is that? Why?
What is Animal?
Animal's going to go over because he wouldn't lose to anyone ever.
No, you
So
got a bigger
Animal's
pop
true.
than everyone.
Find that out a bit. My next match is my black son, Jason Jordan, versus the consortium is owned by me, Ric Flair.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
And
Earpull.
ear pull Vince again, stealing the scene, and I'm going to put over Vince. I'm going to put over Vince. He's going to win that.
Wins.
I'm going to put over Ric Flair.
It's a strange.
Right, my next one is bad reveal. Black Scorpion, Ric Flair, because they had a Scorpion but didn't know who was going to be the Scorpion. So let's have Ric Flair, who did want to be the Scorpion, versus the host of WrestleMania 27, The Rock, because it's the first time. So it was either him or Bieber.
Yeah,
So,
well, yeah. I'm glad
they went with the good one.
they picked the right one
Yeah,
there.
they picked the right one, but it's still shit.
Bieber
But
Cena
it
too.
was Rock. It was the first time he'd been back in a while. People were sick of him just yet.
Yeah, you know it was.
That'll come the year after. I'll put over Rock.
Quite rightly so.
Match number 5. You'll like this one. It's Vince's son, Hornswoggle, versus Linda McMahon, not a zombie.
It's the best reveal. The
When she
best
stands up,
reveal.
you listen to that pop.
Yeah, what a match that'll be.
Linda v. Swoggle. And Linda's going over. It's going to kick him in the balls.
My next match
And
then.
this is so
And it's,
Linda would be angry that you're not my son.
Stepmom.
I can't believe none of you have put this one, although Sam hasn't got into his.
I've got 2 yet.
Well, I think I know what everyone's main event will be. If it's not the higher power, there's something wrong. But my sub-main event is DX's replacement for Shawn is Savio Vega versus Chris Jericho, the Millennium Man. So I'm going to put over Jericho.
My next one, it's another Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns, number 30 in 2017.
Ooh, yeah,
Yeah, that's bad.
Considering he'd already had a match.
yeah.
Versus Dean Malenko, Slamboree, and Cyclope. And I'm putting over Malenko.
What? Malenko over Roman?
Yes.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
I was trying to have a level of trying to match people up with mine, but
I didn't, and I just get up, because one of them was Bubba v Swoggle, and I took out Swoggle.
what a match!
Main event, higher power Vince versus NWO Hulk Hogan.
Snap.
Hogan
Same.
wins. Are we all the same?
Yeah.
Hogan wins. Hogan wins.
Hogan wins.
Hogan wins.
Hogan wins. Hogan won at higher power.
That's
How
it.
about that?
That sums up wrestling, doesn't it? Really, that we end up like
Hogan
we
wins.
started with wrestling. Hogan wins because yes. But if you have any other big bad surprises that you want to let us know, again head over to our Facebook page now, which is facebook.com/BCCpod, our Twitter page, which is @BCCpod, or our website, which is bettercallcreative.com. And under 3 hours, which is a surprise in itself, we have reached the end of our April podcasts. But May May will see us head into Capital Combat and the return, the hotly anticipated return, of course, the RoboCop.
Yes.
You excited for RoboCop?
Oh, great.
Yeah. It'll be fun, won't it?
I am, it'll be fun.
And we'll be rounding out May with another May 19th, but it will be Kane's maniacal May 19th. And we'll be doing a watch-along special of See No Evil.
How are we doing that as well?
That'll be our special. So do join us then. But yes, let's put our capes back on and descend into the heavens.
Into the pit.
Or the pit. Leaves me to wrap it up with son of a bitch. Stab chance saying.
Goodbye.
And I can't even remember what I called you. Hour Power, was it?
Hour Power.
The Hour Power. Jack Chance. Goodbye, folks.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's me, Austin!
Oh, son of a bitch!
What? It's me, Austin! It was me all along, Austin!
Damn, I cannot believe it.
You all bought it! You all bought it! Hook, line, and sinker! You all bought it!
They did!
Even my family! Even my immediate family bought it!
What a shame!